nominee himself will also appreciate the question. So I am pleading with you. I would not co-chair with you. I have cooperated with you thus far. I will not stand in your way. We are in this together. But please tolerate the views we express, and we'll do so in utmost respect to you. Please. Thank you very much.
Please proceed to ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, you're on record, I believe on January 9th, it was reported by Reuters, that you're going to request additional financing from the IMF. What proposal do you intend to present to the IMF?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, inaccurate reportage. I did not say I am going to request for additional financing from the IMF. Inaccurate. What I said was we could request for additional finances if the need arises. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
My second question, honorable nominee, is Ghana, like many other countries, depends on taxation as one of the major sources of revenue to fund development. As a matter of fact, one of the conditions of the IMF, the current arrangement with the IMF, is to enhance local revenue mobilization. The NDC party promised Ghanaians to scrap a number of taxes. So how do you intend, if you're given a nod as the Minister of Finance, to bridge the revenue gap?
Honorable nominee, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, let me say this is an excellent question. Mr. Chairman, Ghana currently collects approximately 13.8% of GDP in terms of tax revenue, according to the latest data I've cited as part of the transition. It is obvious that we can do better. I've studied the Ghana economy for some time, and I can say without mentioning a word that Ghana has huge potential when it comes to tax revenue mobilization. You don't necessarily have to increase taxes before you rake in revenue. We have the handles. What we need to do is to improve compliance. I will work with the JRA, the tax policy unit of the Ministry of Finance, to ensure that we increase compliance and to raise the revenue as much as we can. In the medium term, it is my vision, when approved, to increase the revenue from 13.8, tax revenue from 13.8% of GDP to about 16 to 18%. That will be able to compare ourselves to our peers. I believe the potentials are out there. It doesn't necessarily mean we should increase taxes. Yes, we have obviously announced that we are going to scrap certain taxes. We'll stick to just that. But it doesn't also mean that we don't care about the revenue. We care about the revenue. And we will have to do more on revenue. But it doesn't necessarily mean we should increase taxes. Some of the taxes out there are not bringing in the revenue that it should. For example, the betting tax is bringing in less than 50 million Ghana cedis a year. It's a nuisance tax. Scrapping 50 million Ghana cedis will not mean anything in a way that will affect the economy if you are to adjust, particularly from the expenditure side. I mean, the noise with the betting tax and all does not comprehend the imposition of such a tax. And so I believe that scrapping such a tax will not necessarily affect the forward march of the Ghanaian economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Historically, there have been a lot of macroeconomic policy focus on inflation and exchange rates. Yet the AGI and others in the private sector still complain of high interest rates affecting their businesses. So what are you going to do, given a nod, differently? What are you going to do differently to ensure that our macroeconomic policies are more effective in lowering interest rates for the private sector? Thank you.
Thank you. I think government has a key role to play in this, particularly the fiscal authorities. I say this because if the country is actively in the market, borrowing every week. I mean, if you look at the T-bill market today, every single week we roll over 111 billion Ghana cedis. And if you were to roll over 111 billion Ghana cedis week in, week out, the exchange rate, the interest rate will certainly go up. And you should also understand that interest rate sometimes is a function of inflation. And that is why, personally, I believe there was the need for us to immediately work to bring inflation down. And then also work in such a way that we can stabilize inflation, stabilize the exchange rate, and create jobs. Until we do such a thing, certainly the concerns you've raised will still be there. And there's a lot of work we have to do. It starts from the fiscal authorities. We need to cut expenditure. The time is now. We have to cut the waste. And if you cut the waste, certainly you'll be able to, you will not be able to, you will certainly go to the market in a careful way that you will not be borrowing as much as you are borrowing today. And that in itself, you won't crowd out the private sector and you will be bringing down the inflation in a way that interest rate will come down. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minority Leader, the ranking member, has one follow-up question.
Thank you. Chairman, thank you very much. Leader, you said in a response to our respected colleague's question about tax revenue that as a nation, we don't need to necessarily raise revenue through taxes. I mean, that's then clarified so that I can lay the proper foundation, please.
Mr. Chairman, I did not say that.
I just want you to clarify the point then.
I said we do not necessarily have to raise tax revenue by increasing the tax rate. It doesn't mean the same.
So how do you juxtapose that within the context of your previous position in respect of incentives to the private sector? We've had a private sector policy by the previous government where the whole intent was to free the space for the private sector so that they can invest more, so that they can employ more. You held a position strongly against that incentive, that taxes be necessarily imposed on raw materials that are imported for manufacturing purposes in the country, on equipment that are imported for manufacturing in the country, and all others. How do you juxtapose that?
Mr. Chairman, my position.
Honorable nominee, before you come in. Honorable Mama Yarga is on point of order.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, the nominee did not say that taxes should not be imposed on raw materials. The issue was whether or not taxes already imposed should be received or exempted by this House. So let's communicate accurately.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ayarga. The nominee is capable of answering the question, so proceed to answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my position on tax exemptions are well known. I do not intend to hide from that, and I won't hide from that. Mr. Chairman, tax exemption is gradually becoming a major source of tax expenditure in our fiscal framework. Unfortunately, it's not properly targeted, and so you see a situation where we exempt huge volumes of our taxes to particular companies. At the same time, because we are exempting those taxes, we end up increasing these tax rates for so many other people to pay. I believe everyone else must be given the opportunity to pay taxes. My concern, particularly with the one that you are making reference to, I'm sure it has to do with 1D, 1F. It is not transparent enough. I do not believe that certain individuals must be privileged enough to get tax exemptions, whilst others doing the same should not be given the opportunity to get tax exemption. And I have contended in the past that if the government insists on tax exemption for 1D, 1F, they should put it in the law and allow everyone else to benefit from such tax exemption. My main concern, particularly my criticism against the 1D, 1F, has to do with the opaque manner that it has been done in the past. And I still stand by that. If the government, or if this current government still believes that tax exemption 1D, 1F is irrelevant, then obviously my suggestion is put it in the law. Let everyone benefit from it, but don't pick and choose and decide who should benefit from such a tax exemption. I think it's wrong, and taxation must be fair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last follow-up question.
Chairman, thank you. Leader, I'm making this point as a result of what you just said. Yes, you complain of the lack of transparency. But for the records, and Honorable Yabuama is here, he chaired the committee. You may recall that as a result of those concerns, government at the time was able to meet those concerns to the extent that there was even a waiver on one item, raw materials. In fact, let me say, not waiver, the raw materials component was taken out of the whole exemption. And through scrutiny, the request was very much reduced. Would you say that it was purely political because those concerns were addressed? But you still said no.
Mr. Chairman, I have no regrets for saying no. I have no regrets in the sense that when these taxes were introduced, tax exemptions were introduced to us in this House, initially we were called upon to exempt approximately $458 million. Upon my insistence, the Minister of Finance went back to working together with the Minister for Trade and brought it down to about $100 million. So straight away, I saved the nation approximately $400 million, about $358 million, obviously because of my insistence. I still felt there was the need for us to do more. And that $100 million, I could still see things that I disagree. And so, Mr. Chairman, I have no regrets, and I think I did what is right for Ghana and for all of us. Because clearly, it wasn't right for us to grant some of those tax exemptions. I wasn't alone. Colleagues from the Finance Committee agreed with me, and together we fought it. But obviously, I did not champion this alone. Let me also use this platform to pay tribute to Honorable Kweku Kwati. Honorable Kweku Kwati was instrumental in the fight against this tax exemption because he agreed with me that these taxes were certainly not right, and we are working for Ghana. And if we can save $558 million, look at Accra Kumasi Road. We could use that money to fix the Accra Kumasi Road. I think it wasn't necessary for us to approve that tax, and those concerns, it's not personal, it's not political, but we did it with the right intention, obviously for God and country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of Honorable Foko Junibua.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Get closer to your mic.
Honorable Castle Ato Forson, congratulations.
Thank you very
being
much.
Nominated as Minister Designate for Finance. I've got a few questions. The first one, can you tell us how you are going to fund the government machinery, given that now there is no appetite for lenders to give money on long term, and the money market segment is already crowded, as you initially alluded to. So how are you going to fund government machinery? Lenders are not ready to give long term. The money market end is already crowded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the short term, we need to. Mr. Chairman, in the short term, we need to bring confidence back. It's as important as anything. My proposal is for us to immediately introduce a very strong budget, signaling that we are ready to do the heavy liftings. That first budget will indeed send the right signal that Ghana is ready to open our doors for investors to come into the country. I believe if we are to introduce strong measures, particularly from the expenditure side, we will be able to bring inflation down to 8% plus or minus 2. In doing so, we'll be able to reopen the domestic bond market so that we can move away from the over-reliance of the treasury bill market. And so we'll be able to, at a minimum, smoothen the harms that has been created as a result of the domestic debt exchange and the Eurobond. And so we need to bring confidence back. But you know, if you are confronted with a situation where you do not have financing, then there's the need for you to look within. Let's deal with the expenditure. Let's cut expenditure. Let us not pretend that there's money out there for us. Just like it has been done in somewhere, we can also do it here. My proposal is, let's look at the expenditure side as well. It shouldn't always be borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. It's time for us to cut the waste, and so I will lead the process to cut the waste. And I will need you, honorable members, to help me cut the waste so that we live and stay within the envelope that we can. But when push comes to shove, obviously, we will work with our development partners, such as the Africa Development Bank, the World Bank, the European Union, and other bilateral agencies, including the IMF, to raise cheaper sources of financing to finance government expenditure, particularly where expenditures that can lead to a proper growth and inclusive growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Thank you, Minister Designate. My second question, you've already given a hint on it, which relates to tax exemptions. Particularly, what I want to hear from you, or what I would expect you to tell this committee, is that the Exemptions Act of 2022, Act 1083, allows the states to take equity stake in entities that apply for tax exemptions. This has never been applied, though the Act allows it. Can you tell this committee that under your regime, you'll be bold enough to apply this aspect of the Act, the entities that come for tax exemptions, you'll be ready to go in for equity stake for this country? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's now great. We've done one, I think last year. Honorable Abina will bear me witness. Honorable Kweku Kwarteng championed it. In fact, I seconded the motion for us to set the tone and allow to implement the Tax Exemption Act, particularly the portion that allows government of Ghana to take equity stake. So we've done once, and as a champion against tax exemptions, and someone who insists that tax exemption must also count, you can count on me that I will do whatever it takes, that when push comes to shove, that we have to grant tax exemption. The country must benefit. You can count on me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So everyone has heard and will be watching. My third question. You know, it is commonly known that we generate really nothing much from the informal sector when it comes to taxes. And if you look at the mid-year budget of 2024, if you look at page 107, you realize that tax from PAYE, if you look at the revised budget, it's about 21.113 billion cedis. Whereas tax from taxes from self-employed for the same period, just about 1.572 billion cedis. So this is a ratio of 13 to 1. So the formal sector, PAYE, revenue from those taxes, is 13 times what we get from all the self-employed. So the gap is so big. What would you do practically to close this gap? A gap of 13 to 1. What would you do practically?
Remember, this is a very valid question and very interesting one. I think there's a genuine concern. First, we need to formalize the informal sector. Second, we need to encourage them to formally register with the Revenue Authority. And third, we need to incentivize them. We can learn from Uganda. Uganda has been able to incentivize the informal sector. And as such, they are collecting more taxes from the informal sector than most of sub-Saharan African countries. The question is, what have they done? What Uganda did was to agree through tax education that a percentage of whatever you pay will be used as your pension contribution, even as the informal sector. And so my proposal is, why can't we encourage, or through taxes education, encourage the informal sector by instituting an informal sector pension scheme where you will plow back, let's say 30%. It doesn't mean quote me for 30%. Let's say 30% of whatever you pay as your contribution from your income tax, as your contribution to your to formalize the informal sector and to incentivize them to pay. The options are there. I'm open for advice. I will listen, and I'm ready, as when approved as minister, to work with all of you to see what we can do to allow the informal sector also to contribute their widow's mite towards the development of our dear country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will then move to the majority side to take questions from the leaders of the Finance Committee. Starting from Honorable Azika Dongo.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First, I want to congratulate my honorable colleague, with whom I have worked closely over the years, but also to thank His Excellency for the privilege to bring a thoroughbred finance person from this House, who was involved in oversight for 6 years and practiced in government for another 4 years. When I was invited, I asked myself, what questions are there to ask Honorable Ato Forson? Because we have always been on this side preparing solutions, and I have been in meetings where you and I have led conversations on the way forward to save our country.
Honorable Azika,
all I can say here is
the
that
commentary and go straight to the question.
I believe that my colleagues are better placed because I know your quality and what you bring on board. So I have nothing to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Adongo. It's not the turn of Richard Achampong.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Leader, congratulations. I've worked with you since 2013 to date, so I know what you stand for. So, Mr. Chairman, I have only one question for you. Mr. Dominic, how do you plan to address the country's fiscal challenges and ensure debt sustainability? Thank you very much.
Honorable nominee, your answer.
Mr. Chairman, Ghana's debt management in the past few years has been a major cause of concern. It is sad to know that the country has gone through a very difficult debt exchange, domestic. It's also sad to note that we had to restructure our Eurobonds. In order to not to repeat the past mistakes, we intend to establish an independent debt management office. But in the meantime, we have a major hump that we have to deal with. For example, on the 18th of February, about 6.8 billion Ghana cedis will be due for payment. It is our responsibility to make sure we pay. And the Ministry of Finance, I believe, at this time are preparing to make that payment. My responsibility is to make sure what has happened in the past does not repeat. And so I will do just that. I will work with the Ministry of Finance. I will work with our development partners. And we'll do whatever it takes to avoid a second wave of the crisis we faced in 2022. That I can assure you.
Thank you very much. Any further question? In the absence of any further question, it's now the turn of Honorable Agnes Namomo Latte.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity, the honorable leader, for this high office being nominated to. I would want to find out from the honorable nominee his general vision for revenue mobilization. We've heard bits and pieces, and it's a...
Thank you very much. You may proceed to answer the question.
Thank you very much. I worked under Honorable Setepe for 4 years, improving. What I can assure you is that learning from an Honorable Set and seeing what role to play, and I'll play such a role. As I said, I will dedicate considerable amount of my attention towards revenue mobilization and to help improve the revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question. Thank you. All members, now the turn of Honorable Abana Osei Asari to pose a question to the nominee. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I see you are smiling because I've been in your shoes before. And less than a year ago, I was sitting here and you were sitting there firing questions at me. But I want to use this opportunity to congratulate you. I think you have worked very hard. You put us on our toes when we were in government. And I hope to do the same constructively moving forward. So I wish you well. Just 1 or 2 questions, and that will be it, because you are now moving there. You've been there before. You were there as a deputy minister. You are now going as the the finance minister yourself. And I know that a lot of decisions will rest or come from you. I remember that in 2023, during the budget, you mentioned the fact that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama would inherit a very difficult economy. This is in the Parliamentary Hansard, November 21st, 2023. That's the page 35. But at the end of 2024, and during the transition, we shared some economic data with you. You agree with me that we exceeded revenue. Same GRE exceeded revenue by, I think, 400 million to, it was 178 billion or so. They exceeded by 400 million Ghana cedis. The economy grew from 2.9% in 2023 to first half of the year to 5.8% in 2024. We managed to tame inflation down to 23.2% from 23.8% in December. The banking sector assets have also improved from 274 billion in 2023 to about 376 billion in 2024, October. The private sector credits increased by 28.8% from a negative of 7.5% in the same period last year. The primary balance has improved from a deficit to a surplus, and we live in a reserve of 7.7 billion, representing 3.5 months of import cover compared to the 2.7 months of import cover of about 5.9 billion in 2023. And you also talked about the debt restructuring. And in there, we also told you how far we have gotten with that. We have done over 90% of that. We are left with just the private sector, the private bits, and we will be done. So, my dear friend, we've known each other way back in our university days, so I can call him a friend. And so, my dear friend, with this data that you have been presented with, how would you describe the 2024 economy that you have inherited?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Nominee, over to you.
Mr. Chairman, it's early days yet to make a pronouncement on the 2024 outturns. As we speak, there's no outturn for 2024 because whatever you have is preliminary and cannot be said that is outturn. I say this because the transition numbers she's presenting, we did a transition between 9th to about 21st of December. It doesn't give you end year numbers. Mr. Chairman, I heard her talk about revenue, but revenue alone will not give you a picture of the fiscal deficit. You will need to correspond it with expenditure. I'm also aware that between 30th to 31st, we saw the controller paying out about 18 billion cedis. So 18 billion cedis as against the 400 that you gained. There's a deficit. And so let's wait for end year numbers. I don't want to speculate. I will wait for end year numbers, and then I'll present so, if approved, to Parliament. Mr. Chairman, I want to learn from the former president, Sikam Pedide. I will wait till then before I make those statements. And when the time comes, I will present the true picture of the economy. I don't want to speculate at this point. Let's wait for our turns, and the budget will be read maybe next month, so that we don't use this podium to create speculation. And to add to what the first questioner said, whatever we say here today, whatever we do here today has implication. And it's very sensitive to the market. And so let's be careful not to speculate. I don't want to be pushed to speculate. So
Honorable Nominee, you know the rules. What is the meaning of Sikam Pedide?
Mr. Chairman, the former president spoke in French and Cree. I don't understand. I'll wait for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes,
Mr.
you may
Chairman.
proceed with your next question.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad my friend has confirmed this, because in November 2023, the numbers we presented were also provisional, and yet he was able to make a declaration on it. And so in November 23, all that he said were speculation based on what he just told us, that he will not speculate, he rather waits for the outturn. But in November 2023, the numbers based on which he made that statement were also provisional.
Honorable former Minister, is that your next question?
Can I land, Your Excellency? And so, I mean, that's by way of just letting him know that today he's saying that he will wait and not speculate. But in November 2023, these were the same provisional numbers that we gave out, and yet he was able to make a declaration of the true state of the budget. Thank you, my brother. Okay, I move to my second question. And my second question is about resetting Ghana. That's you, yes. Resetting Ghana, and you are in the highest chair to push this agenda. There's a saying that once you first fix your macroeconomy, all other things will fall through. But in your own manifesto, you're saying that you want to shift from over-concentration on the macroeconomy and then prioritize microeconomy. Looking at the current macroeconomic situation, can you say, as you suggested, that it is going to remain the same, that we have fixed the macro such that you can start quickly with your macroeconomy agenda that you gave out in your manifesto? I just want you to share with us what you think you will do to hit the ground running, as you said in your manifesto, moving away from the macroeconomy because you think we have fixed that for you, and then you want to ride on the back of that to continue with your macroeconomy, as you stated in the manifesto.
Thank you very much. You may
The macro
proceed
is
to
in
answer.
fixed. Mr. Chairman, I want to leave this with us. Ghana is not out of the woods yet. In fact, we are still in the woods. And there's a lot more work we have to do, as long as the macro is concerned. But it's important for us to understand that you don't only grow the economy from the macro, you grow the economy also from the micro. You don't necessarily create jobs only from the macro, you create jobs from the micro. You don't stabilize the city only from the micro, you stabilize the city also from the micro. Mr. Chairman, it is obvious that in the last many years, Ghana has overly concentrated on the macroeconomy. I think we need to get back to basics. If you want to fix the city and you fail to deal with the structural challenges you face as a country, you will firefight. In the end, it will be short-term. We need to deal with it. Yes, you can use the macro to deal with the short-term challenges. But what about the micro? Now your oil revenue is dwindling by 30%, in fact 37%. And you want cities. You have hydrocarbon asset sitting, becoming stranded. What are you doing at the micro side to make sure you can pump in the revenue, bring the oil out, and then get enough revenue to support the economy? What are you doing? You have a cocoa industry that is collapsing, moving from 968,000 metric tons per annum to less than 500,000. What are you doing? These are micro issues that we have to deal with. And I believe that ministers of finance should not only be at the ministry just to pay people. That is only a function of the Ministry of Finance. But ministers of finance must and will have to also pay attention to the economic development mandate of the ministry. So I can assure you, what we said in our manifesto, we stand by it. We will have to do something different. And when approved, with your help, I would dedicate once again a considerable amount of my attention towards the development of the microeconomy, the rest sectors of our economy, to help create jobs and stabilize our currency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before your next question, Honorable Boa has a follow-up question. You are done. Okay.
Chairman, thank you. I think the question brought you to the CD's stability. And you know the CD has depreciated by over 30%, and it's really a matter of great concern. Can you outline some of the steps you take to stabilize the city?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Bank of Ghana alone cannot anchor the Ghana city. The Ministry of Finance will have to play a critical role in anchoring the Ghana city. Mr. Chairman, in the shortest possible time, it is our responsibility to make sure we reduce inflation to 8% plus or minus 2, the target band, in the shortest possible time. Inflation, 8% plus or minus 2. And we'll do that through a careful but strong front-loaded fiscal consolidation agenda, expenditure-based, let me put it this way. And when we're able to do that, it will help the central bank, the monetary authorities, to be able to save reserves and be able to protect the city or come in to intervene when the need arises. But let me also say that all said and done, that is the short-term measure. But in the long term, as a country, we need to sustainably anchor the Ghana city with a number of policies. And then DC, through our manifesto, we've announced a number of them. First is the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board, so that we can use the gold in a way to bring in the forex, the needed forex, to support the city in the very short term. Second, as part of our manifesto, we said we are going to revitalize the palm industry and the cocoa industry. We're already in talks with the World Bank to have that and to make sure that happens. I believe the cocoa and the palm industry will also go a long way to support bring in the needed forex to support. In fact, cocoa had been the mainstay of our economy over the years until recent that the forex is not coming in. We have to do some work, obviously, with the non-traditional export as well. And most importantly for me, we also need to deal with the hydrocarbons that over the last 8 years, Mr. Chairman, the questioner was a former minister for petroleum. You agree with me that in the last 8 years, we've not been able to bring on stream any additional oil field. That is a major concern. It's not that we don't have the oil is there. It's not that we cannot get additional forex to support. But we need to be quick. And these are things that the Ministry of Finance will have to play a very critical role. So we will sustainably anchor the city by ensuring that these major policies are introduced in the shortest possible time to ensure that we can have a stable city. And that's my priority. As I've said, and I've said it so many times, my priority is stable city, low prices, and indeed job creation. That is a priority, and I'll work to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Now, Honorable, your last question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I heard my brother say that they are going to, according to their manifesto, there's going to be a gold board being set up. And we also know that Bank of Ghana is also having this gold reserve program. So is it a new name for an existing program, or Bank of Ghana will have to halt the current gold reserve program to enable you implement the initiatives in your manifesto? This is just by the way. But my last question is this, my brother. You mentioned that you're going to work very well to improve our revenue measures and increase revenue from the 13.8% or tax to GDP to 16%. I just want to let you know by way of information that there's a revenue strategy policy of the ministry that in the medium term revenue strategy policy, that in the medium term, we're going to take Ghana from the current position where we are to about 20%. And I hope that you find time to look at it, and where you need to tweak it a bit, tweak it and make sure it is implemented for all of us to achieve these targets that we have set for ourselves, because at the end of the day, it is the revenues that will accrue to Ghana to enable us to what is expected of us. You also mentioned that you're going to cut the waste. But you know, in the public sector, expenditure composes of, that is my question I'm asking. Expenditure composes of compensation, goods and services, and capital expenditure. So when you say you're going to cut the waste, you're going to cut the waste. I'm afraid this is what we have. And unless you want to say you want to rationalize expenditure, but if you say you're going to cut the waste, this is the component of it. Meanwhile, in your manifesto, you also mentioned that you are going to roll out this big expenditure and ticket items.
Honorable member, you are answering question. You are not asking question. You are making statements.
I am laying the preamble to answer.
The preamble cannot be a thesis.
Because you will need that, respectfully, Mr. Chairman. What I'm saying is that in your manifesto, you mentioned some big expenditure items. That one, you're going to roll out the 10 billion big push policy for strategic infrastructure, which is on page 24 of your manifesto. You also mentioned that you're going to implement an economic transformation agenda, which is also on page 24 of your manifesto. You mentioned that you're going to implement the Ghana Framework for Industrialization, Revitalization, Support, and Transformation, aka Ghana First, which is also on page 37 of your manifesto. And your holy grail, that is the 24-hour economy. So with your position of cutting waste and this huge expenditure ticket items in your manifesto, how do we reconcile the two? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, as for the waste, we'll cut it. And it has to be cut. It has to be cut in such a way that you will not hurt growth and you will not hurt the vulnerable. But we will cut it. Mr. Chairman, I've been in this house for years, 60 years. During this period, I've learned a lot. I learned under Minister Tekpe. I've served on the Finance Committee for 12 years. I've been a ranking member for 6 years. I've been a minority leader for 2 years. Now I'm the majority leader. No one can convince me that our budget does not have waste. We need to cut them. We need to come together, identify them, and cut it. Mr. Chairman, the question is, the waste benefit only a select few, and then its unintended consequences affect all of us as a nation. It ends up breeding fiscal indiscipline, high budget deficit, financing, and in the end, we've seen the outcome. Haircuts. That's the outcome. But let me say that going forward, I will work with your good selves in an open manner, so that together we can work to save our country. Yes, the Honorable Abena made a point that their medium-term revenue strategy is to increase the revenue from its current level to 20%. I hope that is not taxes, because from 13.8 to 20% in the medium term, 2 to 3 years, is very steep, very steep. 13.8% of GDP to 20% is extremely steep. I'm not saying we cannot, but I will work to achieve it. But let me say that 13.8% to 20% is extremely steep. Have you been able to do it in 8 years? The answer is no. And so, unless it is domestic revenue, which include non-tax revenue, but I can assure you, I'll have a look at all of those. And it is in our interest to increase revenue. And we'll do whatever it takes to increase those revenues. Some of the things we'll do from the expenditure side is the establishment of an independent value for money office, so that Parliament, working with us, will be able to set up a ceiling of government contracts that must go through independent value for money analysis that will be owned by the state. I think that must be done, and it will be the beginning of cutting the waste. And Honorable Abena, I recognize that you've served at the Ministry of Finance for 8 good years. During this period, I know you worked on expenditure, you worked on revenue. So we'll tap into your wisdom. Help us identify some of the waste you may know about so that we can cut them appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of Honorable Mahama Shaibu.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Chairman. And good morning, Honorable Nominee, for a well-deserved nomination. My question has to do with investment, the motivation that you have to give to investor confidence. Over the years, we saw major players in our business industry getting out of the country. Now, in the few weeks, however, I've seen some increase in the money market. You have alluded to it here. The available data indicates that the last window of the government treasury bill was oversubscribed by over 2 billion. Can you tell us what plans and measures you have to boost investor confidence? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, from our conversation, particularly with the private sector, a lot of things came out. Distorted VAT regime, the need for us to simplify our taxes, an unfriendly working environment. I believe we need to listen once again to the investing community and the private sector. And in doing so, we'll work with them to come out with a blueprint that will encourage the private sector to boom. From the bond side, I don't know if you meant by the money market side, the bond side. We need to immediately improve our credit rating faster. How do you improve the credit rating? Your fiscal will play a role, and signaling to them that you are ready to do things differently. I've signaled already that we will undergo an expenditure base, strong, front-loaded fiscal consolidation in the shortest possible time, so that together we can send a strong signal to the market, particularly when inflation is reduced. Today, it is very difficult for us to go back to the bond market. But for us to go back there, domestic bond market, I mean, for us to go back there are a few things we need to get it right. Your credit rating and inflation. Inflation today is 23.8, the highest in the last 8 months. And you can see that inflation is inching up. It's inching up by the day. Why has inflation become so stubborn? And I think it's a question we need to ask. And what do we have to do to be able to bring inflation to a target band, A plus or minus 2%? It has to start from the fiscal authorities. And we will start. And we know exactly what we have to do. I need your nod. I need your support. And together, we have a responsibility to do what it takes to fix the economy for the benefit of all of us, particularly the ordinary Ghanaian out there who is struggling. So I'm open, very open, for ideas and to listen to you, not only you, but to the private sector and the entire market, to do whatever you have to do. I'm a very lucky man. I come to this job, apart from my personal experience, but I worked under an astute finance minister, the Honorable Seth, who's like a father to me. I'll reach out anytime, and there are a lot of people. And Honorable Abina is here, a sister I know, Honorable Ayine, the former past minister. And so, let's see. Whatever it takes, we'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now give the floor to Honorable Alassane Umar.
Thank you, Chairman, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Nominee and Leader, congratulations. I have a question on public debt. And I'll base it on the mid-year review, 2024 mid-year policy review. Paragraph 51 stated that the public debt of Ghana is 742 billion cedis as of today. I want to ask you, how do you plan to manage this huge debt? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, we will manage the public debt. I know it's a matter of concern to most of us, but I can assure you, don't be despaired. We'll do whatever it takes to clear the harms that has been created as a result of the debt restructuring. For example, I've looked at the domestic maturities carefully. And you can see that as a result of the debt restructuring, 2025, this year, we'll have to pay off amortization, debt repayment, not interest, 12.6 billion Ghana cedis, domestic. 2026, you have to repay another 15.7 billion Ghana cedis. 2027, you have to pay 53 billion, and 2028, 48 billion. So you could see the harms that has been created. It's frightening and worrying. You have similar harms that has been created at the Eurobond side. You have billions of dollars. This year already we've paid about 364 million US dollars, and others that are coming up. From next year, you'll be compelled to pay every year 1 billion US dollars from the Eurobond market. From the bilateral official creditors, we don't know yet because they've not signed the MOU and all. I recognize the challenges that we have to face as a country. I'm familiar with it. What I can say is that we need to urgently go back to the drawing board to see what we can refinance and what we cannot refinance, and build buffers to take those ones that we cannot refinance. Currently, we do not have buffers to take off some of this debt as and when they fall due, particularly the external side. No buffers. We have to learn from the past. We have to learn from our mistakes as a country. Rambo Setepe once taught me how to build buffers, and his famous sinking fund. When you have the need to save for during good times to take care of eventualities or during bad times. We did the same. To the extent that when we were leaving office, there was enough buffers for the incoming administration to repay the maturing Eurobond. We did just that. Today, it is obvious that we do not have buffers for the external side. For the domestic side, I don't know of any buffer. But nevertheless, and as I've said, don't be despaired, we will manage this debt. His Excellency, the former president, in his last State of the Nation address said that he do not expect the incoming finance minister to default. I want to use this podium to assure the former president that we will not default. We are very much aware of the harms that has been created. It's not palatable. It's worrying. For example, you need to always, every week, week in, week out, go into the T-bill market and refinance it, 111 billion Ghana cedis. Week in, week out. 91 days, you have to refinance 51.6. 182 days, you have to refinance 24.6 billion. And 64 days, you have to refinance 34.9 billion. So together, you are talking of 111 billion Ghana cedis in T-bills that you have to refinance. Or probably roll over. Aside the domestic payment debt that I spoke about. But we will implement an effective debt management program, and we will establish an independent debt management office. I think I said it earlier. And this independent debt management office will manage our debt better, and going forward, avoid past mistakes. I think that is very important. I think we don't have to dwell too much with the past. The past is behind us. We have a country to take care of. We have citizens that are struggling. And so we'll focus on the way forward and forward march of our people and do what is right. But be assured, we'll manage the debt better.
Thank you very much. Any more questions from Omar? Honourable members, against the ground rules, I've exercised my discretion as the chairman of the committee to welcome a question from Sami Auku, a friend to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to just ask a follow-up question, if it pleases Mr. Chairman, and then I can go on to my substantive. Congratulations, Honourable Nominee. Mr. Chairman, no. Mr. Chairman, we had an understanding. The leader of the minority made a valid point to allow a question from a non-member of the committee. Against the existing protocol, the chairman agreed for the person to answer, to ask a question. It is not appropriate for that person to now say you want to ask a follow-up question before his substantive question. That is not allowed. So go on and answer your question. That is I think the point I'm making to Chairman. That he is allowed to.
Honourable Samia Okuma, you do exactly the same.
Mr. Chairman, basically it has to do with...
Chairman, today is Monday morning. Over and over again, I want to assure colleagues in the majority of our fullest cooperation. I am pleading with all of you in the majority. No attempt should be made to intimidate my members, especially the new ones. Honorable Kwame Govins Agboja, you are an experienced legislator. What you just did, you knew the effect of what you just did. When I pinch you guys a bit, then you're all crying, Afenyo. You do that to my members. I've been calm, I'm watching. You try to take the power from the chair, and then when I'm reacting, you say, I'm being like a co-chair. Don't let us go there. We have started a good morning. Tolerate us enough. Be patient. So far, your side have not done the scrutiny. And we understand you are in government. Scrutiny would largely be done by the minority and the opposition. So please, in all humility, if you will be... Yes, no problem. Let me finish. Let me finish. Vice Chair, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I need to finish. I allowed Honorable Govins Agboja to finish.
Chairman, point of order.
Even when I had a point of order, I allowed him to finish. The rule of this game is tolerance. And if you are in government and you still act as though you are in opposition, would have it. Would have it. If your style would be to be attacking me, you will have it. You would have it.
Point of order. Chairman,
if you think that you are still
on our side, have been asking very good questions.
I'm on my chairman. You know you never gave him. Mr. Chairman, you never gave your vice.
He's completely out of order.
Chairman, you never gave him the floor. Chairman,
should never allow any friend of this committee to ask questions. Now, the former chairman never allowed any friend to ask a question.
Honorable Boa, you don't have the floor. You don't have the floor.
Chairman, I would accord every member of this committee utmost respect. And our side will continue to treat all of us here with utmost respect. Colleagues, I'm compelled to make this point. We are here in good faith. The minority has cooperated with chairman for us to get here in good faith. The letter got to us in Parliament. An advert was done. We cooperated for the advert to be placed in the paper same day. We were supposed to start this vetting tomorrow. Chairman reached out to me regarding some exigencies. I convinced my side that there is a need for the new government to proceed to form a government. The president needs his team. So let us not obstruct. Let's cooperate. I still have communications asking me, leader, why are you changing from Tuesday to Monday? I am here to do the people's work with my team. This posture of attack on me, colleagues, chairman, with the greatest respect, I will not take it anymore. Even my opening remarks had to receive interjections and point of order. When go and watch Bagwin as minority leader, his opening remarks, let's watch the videos. Let's watch Haruna Idrisu. Guys, I don't want a situation where it will be like Markin wants to do this and that. I understand governance. I know governance. And I will support you to form your government. But nobody should make an attempt to use some attacks to frustrate. It won't work. And we are not going to boycott proceedings. As Honorable Govins Agboja once said on the floor, even laying paper, even for him to oppose, he says that there will be chaos. That was his threat. We know what he did to my vice chair. No, it's not payback. I will never do that. I'm not petty. I know what they did to this 67-year-old woman who was then the chair of the appointment committee, our mother. We know what happened. The cameras watched it. So, colleagues, you are now in government. Your duty is tolerance. Tolerance. If you don't want to tolerate us and you don't want to accommodate and you are talking about rules, then we'll also go by the rules strictly. I would end here. Chairman, thank you. And let not,
thank you very much,
don't allow
Honorable
this to ever
Minority
happen
Leader.
again.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minority Leader. The presidents are there. We all know that Honorable Joseph Osei-Osu, sitting as the chairman of the appointment committee, will never welcome a question from a non-member of the committee. I am using my discretion to allow a non-member to ask a question. I am asking you to ask a question, and to ask a question does not give you room to ask supplementary question before the main question. It's an abuse of the opportunity being given to you. May you proceed and ask your question.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, wait. No, wait. Chairman, with the greatest respect, I know you are an advocate, you do a lot of cross-examination. You cannot raise your voice on a member. He's a first timer. When he makes a mistake, let's correct him in a manner that would encourage him to enjoy Parliament. He's a new member. Please, with the greatest respect, I know it was not your intention, but knowing you when you get your client in a tight corner, how you deal with them, I beg you, this is not your client. I beg you. Neither is he. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Honourable member, ask your question.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. But first of all, I did not even make a mistake in the first place. Just for the records, I did seek leave.
Go ahead and
Chairman.
ask the question,
and
please.
once it wasn't approved, then I proceed to my substantive. That's all, Mr. Chairman. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the clarity. And I will proceed. Honourable nominee, I would like to refer you to a publication on the 15th of March 2021. And I want to paraphrase because I don't want to miss any word. And I quote, Ghana today, we are complaining that this gambling is destroying our youth. I've read a number of articles on this. I would have thought that the government will come out with a policy to restrict gambling and to even ban it, he said. And this was a quotation attributed to you, Honourable nominee. I want to ask and proceed on this. Do you still stand by this position of banning gambling and banning betting and all that in its entirety, or now your position has changed? That's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think it's a very good question, and it's an opportunity for me to clarify. Mr. Chairman, I was on a show with the Honourable Cathedral and the contest must come out. The Honourable Cathedral at the time Minister for Information, I'm sure, had the responsibility to sell a government policy on betting. And he said, I'm surprised you are not bringing that portion. He said that betting tax is being implemented because it is destroying our youth, and that the government is introducing this betting tax the government is introducing this betting tax to deter them, equivalent to a sin tax, so that they will not be staking the bet. I retorted on a show being hosted by Evans Mensah on Joy FM PM Express. I retorted by saying that will not solve the problem. That will not solve the problem because I've read a number of articles, and the article presupposes or suggests that it is destroying our youth. And so if you want to introduce a tax, you have to first look at the elasticities, and as to whether the elasticities will mean that imposing such a tax will prevent the individual or the people concerned from the staking of the VAT of the betting or not. But I doubt that will. And so if you intend doing that, the best option is to ban it and not to introduce a tax. And I said, the tax will not solve the problem. Here we are today. I've been vindicated. Has the tax solved the problem as intended by the government? Big no. I insist that that tax must be abolished. And as Minister of Finance, my first budget, I will abolish the betting tax. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. We don't do that in Parliament. We say here, here.
No, but they are not.
The next person is Honorable Mama Erga.
Okay,
Mama Erga.
I thought somebody was my friend until I was given an opportunity to ask a question. And she started heckling me even before I've asked the question. Congratulations, my leader. My real question was to ask you how prepared you are to deal with the multitude of economic challenges confronting Ghana. But after listening to you within these few minutes, I thought it wise to abandon my question. Because even before asking, you have made a case demonstrating your readiness and preparedness to confront the problems of Ghana with greater expertise and finesse than we have seen in the past. So I have a few questions focusing on what my brother and former majority leader and now minority leader raised in his thesis that he read before we started. Oh, it's very beautiful. Thesis.
Honourable Member, continue. Proceed.
Number one, will you abolish the E-levy?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my position on the E-levy is well known. I do not intend to run from it. I've written articles against the E-levy. I championed opposition against E-levy. I still stand by them. Mr. Chairman, the E-levy is neither a direct tax, indirect tax, or an excise tax. I don't know how to classify the E-levy as a tax practitioner. Mr. Chairman, it doesn't mean that I do not recognize that the E-levy brings in certain revenue. But the fact remains that the E-levy retards our progress towards a cash-light economy and the fintech. We need to abolish the E-levy. I have said, and I'm on record to have said, that given the opportunity to abolish the E-levy, I want to restate that position, that if approved as part of the first budget, I'll be privileged and I will announce that we will abolish the E-levy as part of our first budget, recognizing my earlier stance and the commitment that His Excellency the President, President Mahama, said that as part of our 120 days agenda, we will abolish the E-levy. We stand by that, and I can assure you the E-levy will go within the 120 days calendar that we've announced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mama Ayarga. The minority leader and the ranking member wants to do a follow-up on the question relating to abolishing E-levy.
Thank you, Chairman. Chair, my respected colleague and leader tells us that he is aware that abolishing the e-levy would amount to government losing revenue. How does he make up for the loss in revenue?
Thank you very much. Your answer to the question, please.
Mr. Chairman, it shouldn't always be revenue, revenue, revenue. But why are we not paying attention to expenditure? I think you have a choice of both. Remove the e-levy and replace it. Or remove the e-levy, don't replace it, and cut corresponding expenditure. The option is on the table. As minister, I will obviously consider the e-levy holistically and the fact that it's going, and look at its impact and assess it appropriately. But my commitment will not change. The e-levy has to go, and it will go immediately.
Thank you very much. He intimated he has a further supplementary question.
Chair, my respected colleague and leader has introduced an important point, and I find a very intelligent one. He says that it's not always about revenue, but expenditure. We are aware of several expenditure lines. These are largely social intervention programs. Is he saying that he's going to do away with some of the social intervention programs to enable him succeed? Or has he been able to identify a particular expenditure line to be able to deal with? Because to say you are going to abolish it on good authority and you are not going to look for another source of revenue to replace it, but you're going to cut on expenditure, it so suggests that you've identified one. Have you been able to identify one?
Mr. Chairman, the quality of expenditure matters. I have said here, and I'm on record to have said that as part of our short-term measures, we will indeed implement a careful but a strong expenditure-based front-loaded fiscal consolidation agenda without hurting growth and the vulnerable. The vulnerable obviously means protecting social protection. Mr. Chairman, I'm a social democrat. My party, the NDC, is a social democratic party. We stand by our ideals. We will not be the ones to hurt the vulnerable. We will protect the vulnerable in our society. Our expenditure cut will be careful, will be done in a way where the vulnerable will be protected. And I've said the quality of expenditure matters. It matters in the sense that expenditure must drive inclusive growth. And so if the expenditure is wasteful and it's not properly targeted and it's not achieving the desired outcome, then you have to relook at it. So we'll be guided. Remember, aside my professional expertise, I'm also a politician. I have won a mandate, and my constituency is a rural constituency. I understand the people of Ghana. I understand the needs of the vulnerable. I understand the dynamics of the political economy. I have monitored Ghana's economy for close to 20 years, 2 decades. I understand its trends, and I can assure you that whatever policy that we will introduce it in such a way that it will drive inclusive growth and help all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The ranking member is really enjoying the answers to the question. We may now move on with Honorable Mahama Ayarga.
Honorable Ato Forson, you have been talking about cutting down on expenditure. You've repeated that several times this morning. Is the reduction in the number of ministers and the reduction in the number of existing ministries, is that part of the measures being taken at the highest levels to cut down on expenditure?
Mr. Chairman, the size of government matter. It feeds into the expenditure framework. Reducing government ministries from 30 to 23 gives you a savings of 7. 7 bureaucratic agencies. 7 bureaucratic agencies comes with its own cost. Therefore, it is part of the envelope. So straight away you can see the envelope. Today, the Ministry of Finance will have to populate the budget as approved by Parliament for expenditure in advance of appropriations. It has, as part of it, 30 ministries. Immediately, they have to realign to 23. So straight away, you have cost centers of 27 that you have to eliminate. Some are fixed, but they are variable costs that you immediately cut. And so you can understand that as part of the government's policy to cut down expenditure, we have already begun. And I'm sure in the next budget, you will be very impressed with us, what some of the things we'll do. I don't want to preempt it. I'm not a minister yet. I'll count on you to approve me very fast so that I can start the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last question.
My last question is, do you have any doubts about any of our commitments to abolish any of the taxes? Are we reneging? Is there any conversation in the circles of government? Is there any doubt in our mind about any of the taxes that we said we will abolish?
Mr. Chairman, certainly no. Certainly no.
Thank you very much. I will take a question from Honorable Ampimyako.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations to Honorable Dr. Ato Forson. But I am impressed with your responses so far, a clear indication that you are ready to help reset Ghana. But I have a quick question. The previous government, in the process of introducing e-levy, abolished road tolls. As you have committed to remove e-levy, would you consider to bring back road toll collections? And what is your take on property rate collections as well? Because they attempted to centralize it and they reversed it with the previous government attempted centralization of property rate collections, and they reversed it with the explanation that there were some challenges.
Thank you very much for your question.
Road toll and property rate?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, the previous government indeed removed the road toll. But getting to the end, they signaled that road toll is coming back. Mr. Chairman, they submitted to Parliament, it was not laid, a concession agreement with a company to reintroduce the road tolls. I have a copy. Mr. Chairman, the NDC indicated from day one that the road toll will come back. We are not running away from it. In fact, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, at the time, the minority leader, said that the NDC promises to bring back the road toll. The Hansard will bear us out. We have not run away from that fact. So I can assure you, we are a party that sticks to our promises. And whatever we have promised to do, we'll do just that. If the road toll is a way to raise revenue, we'll raise the revenue. And the road toll, if you use the road, you have to pay a toll. And it's all over the world. Ghana won't be the first country, won't be the last one. You have to contribute towards the road maintenance. And so the only thing is we have to collect the revenue effectively. and efficiently so that we can plow it towards the maintenance of those roads. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will take a question from Gideon Buako. Dr. Gideon Buako.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the honorable nominee per his CV is affiliated to the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology Business School. In fact, he signed up for the program at the time I was seconded to the office of the Vice President. So as a lecturer of the business school, I think it is appropriate that on behalf of the KNUST Business School, I congratulate you. And I can see my colleague, Professor Jonathan Annan, sitting behind you to show moral support. Mr. Honorable Nominee, on 3rd April 2019, Ghana's economic management team held a public lecture at the College of Physicians and Surgeons. And this lecture was led by the former Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. The lecture was themed, Our Progress, Our Status, Our Future. A day after that lecture, there was another public lecture organized by the Coalition for Restoration that is affiliated to your party on 4th April 2019, and you spoke at that public lecture, which was themed The State of the Ghanaian Economy, Myths and Truths. In your presentation, you put out some data, among which I found a highly misleading data that you put out. And to quote you verbatim, you said, and I quote, Mr. Chairman, the official data from the Ministry of Finance indicates clearly that overall deficit by end year 2016 was 7.8% of GDP, into brackets, 6.1% of new rebase GDP. But the figure you put out, Honorable Nominee, was utterly untrue. And to back this with evidence, if you read the budget statements of 2017, the mid-year budget statement of 2018, and the mid-year budget statement of 2019, the full budget, you will see that page 7, paragraph 14 of the 2017 mid-year budget put that figure at 9.3% of GDP, and not what you quoted. Again, page 12, paragraph 45 of the 2018 mid-year budget put the figure again at 9.3%, and not what you quoted. Lastly, page 3, paragraph 14 of the 2019 full budget statement puts the figure at 9.3%, and not what you quoted. Where did you get that figure you quoted from? Would you consider apologizing to the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and Honorable Nominee, former Vice President?
Honorable Dr. Gideon Buako, it doesn't lie in your mouth to ask the nominee to consider apologizing. So withdraw that from your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I submit to your guidance on this. Honorable Nominee, my question is, you know the enviable office of the Finance Minister that potentially you're going to occupy should come with utmost integrity, honesty, backed by meticulousness, profundity, and analytical precision. In your capacity as minority spokesperson, you misled the public with wrong public data. Can you assure this committee that you are not going to sleep on the job and make some of these data presentational errors that we have even experienced in the past, for which Ghana was charged for some misreporting by the IMF? That's my question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for this.
Before you answer the question, the questioner I will want you to consider withdrawing, going to the office with a degree of honesty, integrity. I mean, it's against our rules. So expunge that from your question. Then I can ask the nominee to answer the
Mr. Chairman,
question.
if you can guide me.
I think what the chairman is saying is that the aspect where you delved into his personality. So just say that that bid is deemed withdrawn. Then we make.
Mr. Chairman, duly acknowledged.
Thank you very much. Nominee, you may proceed to answer the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Gideon Boakon has got it very wrong. Very wrong in the sense that he's not privy to the IMF data. And I want to refer him to the IMF staff report for 2018 and 2019. And if you can check now, I want to take him into it. Mr. Chairman, he's wrong. In fact, the very 7.8 fiscal deficit for 2016 was reported by the IMF. And Mr. Chairman, the IMF has subsequently even revised the fiscal deficit for 2016 down on cash basis to 6.3%. 6.3%. Mr. Chairman, you know me in this house. I don't just speak. I speak with data. I research before I speak. I use data from independent sources. Ghana was in an IMF program at the time. 2017, the Ministry of Finance presented a budget. They quoted the numbers he's making reference to. I challenged the numbers. In fact, my former boss also challenged the numbers because I was a deputy minister at the time. 2018, they repeated the same inaccurate numbers, and it had become the order of the day.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
I have a responsibility.
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
I have a responsibility to defend our legacy. And I had a responsibility to defend our legacy. And in defending the legacy, I actually decided to use data from independent sources, the International Monetary Fund. And in doing so, the IMF presented this data. Mr. Chairman, I'll give you this. This is a dashboard I asked the Ministry of Finance to tabulate for me. Ministry of Finance's own data. I did not compute this data. It's coming from Ministry of Finance. According to the same Ministry of Finance, the fiscal deficit, cash basis for 2016, was 6.3% of GDP. Mr. Chairman, this is not coming from me. So the 7.8%, I was extremely charitable, extremely charitable, because I've weighed off 1.5% of GDP. Because that was what the Ministry of Finance has reported. They gave it to me this morning when I asked for it. This is coming from the Ministry of Finance. So there's no basis for me to apologize. I stated the fact. I stated what is coming from the IMF, what I had earlier on objected to, and I've asked the government to consider relook at the numbers again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nominee. We indicated earlier that he doesn't have the power to ask any nominee to apologize. He doesn't lie in his mouth, and it was withdrawn. So I will move to the next questioner, member of the committee, Honorable.
Mr. Chairman, I will seek your leave for a point of order. My brother and
you are
nominee,
taking the point of order on who? Which matter are you taking the point of order on?
On the matter he just put on the table that consistently Ministry of Finance presented wrong data to
Under what order are you coming?
Mr. Chairman, I have to put this on record that he's saying that consistently for 2 years, Ministry of Finance presented wrong data. You were a member of parliament at that time. We were all members of parliament at that time. And then he comes back to tell us that today he's gone back to that same Ministry of Finance to get accurate data because he's the one going to, lead or chair, lead the ministry. I don't think it is proper. I don't think this is how we should treat ourselves. If for one reason you have found out another data that is maybe contrary to what we presented, definitely there will be explanations. Definitely there will be, reasons why it is so. But to say that consistently we presented wrong data to Parliament consistently for 2 years, Mr. Chairman, this is Ghana. And like my neighbor in Etiwa West said, whatever we say here, the international investors are listening and watching, and to have repercussions on this economy. So let's manage what we say. We are not saying don't speak the truth, but you cannot say that consistently for 2 years, Ministry of Finance presented a wrong data here. Mr. Chairman, I expect you to do something about it. Thank you very much.
I will not allow the nominee to answer. That is not a question. It's a commentary. May we proceed? Honorable
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, you have to do something about it because you were a member of parliament at that time, and they are saying that we, members of parliament, watched while wrong data was being presented.
Honorable Patrick Obama, Honorable Abna Useasari, you are out of order.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, you have
Put
to
your
do something.
microphone off. Honorable Patrick Obama, it's now your turn.
Chairman, you have female members on this committee, and I believe you must protect the ladies on the committee, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Abna is your colleague and a female member on the committee, so we must do some. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to ask some questions. Let me use the opportunity to congratulate my good friend, Honorable Cathedral, Ato Forson, for his nomination as Finance Minister Designate. Ato, sometime in 2022, you alluded to the fact that the central bank had printed over 22 billion cedis ostensibly to inject into the economy some funds. I would want to find out from you if you still stand by that comment or those comments, given the fact that the central bank came out with a statement explaining what they did, which was in line with the fund program and also some borrowing from the secondary market. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've not changed my position. Ghana was not in an IMF program in 2022, and it cannot be in line with the IMF program.
I didn't get the answer correctly from my good friend.
Honorable nominee, can you repeat your answer?
Mr. Chairman, he said what the central bank did was in line with an IMF program. Ghana was not in an IMF program, and I stand my position that the central bank indeed engaged in monetary financing, in other words known as money printing.
Much for repeating your answer. Your second question.
Ato, I know Honorable Ato Forson. Sorry for calling you Ato. I'm used to calling you Ato. You are someone who loves to read a debt report. And you've always engaged me on the debt report from the Ministry of Finance. May I know your thoughts on the debt report, particularly 2022? Reading from the previous debt report, the public debt, as it stands now, increases with the depreciation of the cedi. About 90% of the increase in our external debt was due to the cedi's depreciation.
which is mainly outside the purview of the central bank or the Ministry of Finance, what are you going to do differently to ensure that exchange rate depreciation do not have a very negative effect on our balance of payments? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Nominee, your answer to the question.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, yes, this House always considers the debt report. The Finance Committee always considers the debt report. We started raising the red flags and asked the minister to act far back 2020. In fact, we deepened our call in 2021 and asked the government to act immediately. Our major concern at the time had to do with the exclusion of certain lines. ESLA bond, Sino-Hydro loan, Dache bond, and many others. And we said, what they are doing is wrong. And that as long as you are going to use government revenue, public revenue to repay this debt or service the debt, you should count it as part of the debt. So the debt that they were reporting excludes some of this debt that I've mentioned. We were ignored. But in the end, when Ghana went into the IMF program, we were compelled to add Sino-Hydro loan to the public debt. We were compelled to add ESLA bond to the public debt. We were compelled once again to add Dache bond to the public debt. So we came back to the basics. We in the NDC felt vindicated, but we don't seek that. We think it provides a very excellent lesson for all of us in the way we report our debt. Fast forward, that is why the NDC, we've pledged in our manifesto to establish an independent debt management office so that we can report our debt in a very transparent manner to avoid past mistakes and to move on. The exchange rate issues you've mentioned are very genuine and very germane. Yes, as long as you borrow in another country's currency, foreign currency, when the cedi depreciates as against those currencies, because you express it as, in your currency, it will have an impact, and so your debt will be going up. But remember, it's also your responsibility to manage the currency, and it's not someone else's responsibility. And Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana, has a role to play in the management. In fact, they have to manage the currency and stabilize the currency. But the Ministry of Finance has a role to play. So the behavior of the fiscal authorities will have some positive or negative transmissions at the monetary side. And so together, we have to do it. When approved as minister, I will work or coordinate effectively with the central bank for us to be able to anchor the cedi together, so that between the Ministry of Finance and the central bank, we can anchor the currency. That must be done. I strongly also believe that monetary finance must be eliminated. We've done it in the past in 2016, and monetary financing has a role to play in the inflation that we saw in 2016, and the cedi that we saw depreciating to a level that you are talking about. So we need to work together and find a way to deal with the concerns that we've raised. I'm committed to that, and we'll work to do that.
Thank you. Minister, there's just a question to the chairman, to the nominee. I know there are some cocoa farmers in and around Jinapor and Dominic, Asin area, Denchira, Ashanti, Western North. They are all listening to you. And they would want to know from you as Minister of Finance, because under the previous administration, Cocoa Board was moved from the Ministry of Finance to Ministry of Agric. People had issues with it. They want to know from you, from a cocoa growing area, whether you are immediately going to increase, as promised, the producer price of cocoa to 6,000 Ghana cedis per bag, as promised. Thank you very much, and I wish you the very best, Ato.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, as we speak, the chairman of the Producer Price Review Committee is the Minister for Agriculture and not the Minister for Finance. The government changed the position. In fact, President Akufo-Addo brought a bill to the House for us to consider and change it. Until that changes, I will not be the chair of the Producer Price Review Committee for me to commit. But what I can say is that, you know my passion with cocoa. I do not have a cocoa farm myself, but I recognize the work of the cocoa farmer. And I have fondly spoken about cocoa, and everyone knows that. I think the cocoa farmer must be prioritized. One of the reasons why our cocoa is going down is that we are not paying the cocoa farmer a fair price. As a result, there are no incentives for the cocoa farmer to cultivate cocoa. And our volumes are dwindling from almost 1 million metric ton to 400 and something thousand metric ton. Today, we are second largest producer of cocoa. Ecuador is fast approaching, and if care is not taken, Ecuador will overtake us. Cocoa has supported Ghana's economy over the years. I think it's about time that we pay attention to the cocoa sector by giving fair price to the cocoa farmer and revamp the industry. As minister, obviously, as Minister of Finance, when approved, I will work with the Ghana Cocoa Board as a rare sector active player to revitalize the cocoa sector, but at the same time paying attention to what the cocoa farmer gets. Because we need to incentivize them, we need to encourage them for them to be able to cultivate the cocoa and for them to be able to also be encouraged to stay within the sector. Remember, the cocoa industry is more or less the largest single employer of Ghana's economy. And it cuts across how many regions in our country. Almost half of this country produces cocoa. So don't overlook cocoa, and we will not overlook cocoa.
Minister,
thank you very much.
Just to give you some information, yes. that committee is co-chaired by the Minister of Finance and the Minister. So you have a voice. Right from the word go, you have a voice.
So that even empowers me stronger.
Thank you very much.
And my passion will always come to play.
Thank you. It's now the turn of Honorable Governor Kwame Abuja, the Majority Chief Whip.
Chairman, thank you. I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate my boss, the Majority Leader, Honorable Kesel Ato Forson. Working with you as your whip, I have no doubt you are cut for this job. You are a personality determined to achieve results, and you are selfless, and you love your country. I believe with you in the chair, you will be able to drive, on behalf of the President, the economic reset that we all desire as a people of this country. Chair, I have an observation. I haven't served long enough on this committee, but I have this to say. This is the longest vetting of a leader since I entered Parliament. Though my very good friend, the respected Minority Leader, made the point that there's a convention that leaders are vetted differently, and I was here when even the Deputy Majority Whip at the time, Honorable Lydia Alassane, was vetted. That rule even applied to her as a Deputy Whip. We are approaching 3 hours of vetting. There's a perception that these things only apply when our colleague NPP are at the receiving end, i.e., when they need to benefit, these rules apply. And we on the NDC side follow through. Let this just be on the record that one day, if a leader gets vetted 3 hours, 4 hours, it wouldn't be that, oh, because it's NPP or NDC, but you have actually set the precedent. Let me go to another observation. My very respected leader, I know he knows his numbers, and he actually goes not only read Hansards, but actually watch videos of proceedings in Parliament. And we all learn from him sometimes. Though I came to Parliament with him, his premium on details are correct. In his, what I call the press, using this platform for a press conference initially, he spoke about a lot of things. One of the important things he spoke about was the communication from His Excellency the President to this House, where he suggested that at Order 65.1 says that that type of letter should be signed by the President, Vice President, or a minister designated by the President. And he took issues with Dr. Kalisu signing that letter. I have here in my hands a letter dated 21st January 2021. And this letter communicates President Akufo-Addo's nominees for ministerial and regional ministerial designate. And guess what? The person who signed this letter is not even the President's Executive Secretary, but somebody called Honorable Eugene Ayine, Acting Director of Communication, Office of the President. So whilst I agree with you that, yes, address to the Speaker, the thing says, it's all here, I'll hand it over to you. So what I'm saying is that I agree with him that Order 65.1 should be adhered to. But the point is that this is nothing new in this House. Indeed, the Executive Secretary of the President has communicated to this House appointing people to authority under that same thing. So just for the records. Honorable Dr. Ato Forson, I have just one question for you. And this question is regarding a payment of $53 million towards a supposed Cathedral project, which was a commitment of the former president to his God. As we speak, the $53 million has been paid. The result is a big hole not far from here. We also know that the payment was made through the Ministry of Finance. My question to you is, having knowledge that the $53 million could have paid for 3 completed Agenda 111 district hospitals, could have paid for 1,220 6-unit classroom blocks, could have paid for 1,050 chip compounds, could have paid at least 299,000 teachers, and actually could have bought 9,000 cutlasses for farmers. Will you promise that when you are approved by this House and then subsequently by the House, you would set up an investigation as to whether this payment was legitimate, and if possible, retrieve this money so that we can buy the 9,000 cutlasses for the farmers, actually build 1,050 chip compounds and 1,200 6-unit classroom blocks. Hopefully, Adaklu will get some of the 6-unit classroom blocks because we still have schools under tree. Will you make a commitment to make sure that this $53 million, which many Ghanaians believe was a waste, would become something that can benefit the ordinary people of this country?
Thank you very much. Before you proceed to answer the question, let me reiterate the fact that regarding the form of the communication to Parliament, I indicated quoting a decided case to support. As a matter of fact, it's not about the form but the substance. So let's leave it there. You may proceed to provide an answer to the question. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, this takes me back to what I started earlier. The quality of expenditure matter. You see, and I've said earlier on that there was the need for us to cut the waste. This is one of the waste that I refer to. And learning from past mistakes, we don't need to repeat this. As to whether we'll investigate it or not, the Ministry of Finance do not have investigative power. It is the government, and based on the government agenda to investigate. I attended the Office of the Attorney General and the newly established ORA. So, Mr. Chairman, for me, let me put it this way. There are bitter lessons we have to learn from some of these expenditures and what it has done to all of us as a country and what we have gone through together, because in the end, we ended up borrowing, and we borrowed into an unsustainable pit to the extent that we had to give domestic bondholders haircuts, including Euro bondholders. So we have to learn from it. And I've said that we need to identify some of these kind of expenditures. You are now aware of this one, but maybe there are a lot more that we are not aware of. Can we identify some of them? Can we pledge together, the political class, the governing class, not to continue some of these things and allow the private sector to deal with some of these things concerned? So I'll leave that here and urge you that I will work with yourselves to identify some of these wasteful expenditures and cut them appropriately. Let's cut the waste together.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. Chairman, my respected colleague Kwame Agboja made reference to an earlier observation made by me in respect of the communication from the Secretary to the President to the House. He did suggest that there is precedence and that in January 2021, specifically 21st of January 2021, a communication from the Presidency was signed by Eugene Ayine, Acting Director of Communication, informing the Speaker of some nominees, and that to him is a precedence. I humbly beg to disagree with him on his own evidence. The letter he referred to is rather a press release, not a letter to the Speaker. And for his own record, is titled "For Immediate Release, President Akufo-Addo's nominees for ministerial and regional ministers designate." The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has submitted to Parliament for prior approval through the Speaker, Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, the names of the following persons for appointments as ministers in his new government. So, just for the record, my respected colleague, Eugene Ayine has never written on behalf of the President to the Speaker. This is a press release. And if you want me to read the conclusion, I will. President Akufo-Addo is hopeful that Parliament will see to the prompt approval of his nominees so that they can assist in the delivery of his mandate for his second term in office. This is the press release. And in fact, our colleague, Ofosu Kwachi, as the acting spokesperson for the President, has actually also released a statement in respect of the nominees that got to Parliament. So I'm saying that, get the fact right, Eugene Ayine, for records, never wrote to Parliament. And that was not what I was referring to. I referred to the letter from the Secretary. In any event, I relied on the rules of the House. So please, Eugene never wrote to us, and I did not mislead the public, neither did I quote the wrong law, or neither was I suggesting that there was no set precedent and that this is something that, I got wrong. I couldn't have gotten it wrong, with respect, sir.
Yes, These are the points well noted. Do you have a further question?
Yes, I think I was just reinforcing the point he made because the orders are clear that such communication should be signed by the President, the Vice President, and I agree with you. So I'm just saying that because I know that the President's Executive Secretary have communicated to this House on a number of occasions, but as the Chair directed, we'll leave it there. Leader, the people of Adaklu have heard a lot about the debt of this country. We have heard you say sometimes if we were to share the debt, my Auntie Peace, would have to pay 20,000 Ghana cedi as part of our debt. But so far, I've not heard you speak about, in your view, going through the transition, how much does this country owe now? What was it in 2016? And what is it now? And how much my auntie is supposed to pay? If we're asked to pay that money, everybody is supposed to pay today.
Thank you very much for your question. How much do we owe now? What was it in 2016?
Mr. Chairman,
please go ahead with your answer.
Mr. Chairman, the NDR debt numbers has not been finalized. And I would wish to wait for us to finalize NDR numbers. And then as part of the budget, we can announce same. And maybe His Excellency the President, during his State of the Nation address, will have to announce those accurate data. For now, I will urge that we wait until they finalize NDR numbers because the fiscal fits into the debt, and so we'll be able to know exactly what is Ghana's public debt. I don't want to say something and change my position tomorrow, so I beg that you leave that to the NDR numbers. Thank you.
Honorable, it's now the turn of the Deputy Leader, Honorable Patricia Apiaje.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Leader, that's my favorite leader. Having been here for all this while, I've been wondering how many sins this committee has committed to fast-track your vetting today. I've been wondering how many sins we have committed, and I've been wondering whether Ghana, Banana Republic, has been transported back to Ghana. So that's my first question.
Should I treat it as a comment or a question to the nominee?
I need an answer from my leader.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I remember enumerating the number of sins she's committed as the vice chair of our appointment committee. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not a member of the appointment committee. I cannot be too sure the sins they have committed. That one is between you and your God.
I think you mean you don't know the sins we've committed as a committee for fast-tracking your vetting today, a vetting that was supposed to be held tomorrow and is being held today? And we were even expecting it to be held in the next 2 weeks. Anyway, I like your answer. Honorable Leader, on behalf of the cocoa farmers across the country, and on my own behalf, I'd like to congratulate you for your appointment as the Minister Designate for Finance. Honorable Leader, the current cocoa price, producer price of cocoa, is 49,600 per ton. That is 3,100 for 64 kg bag. Over the past 1 year.
Are you talking in terms of dollars or cedis?
Cedis,
I want to be clear.
Over the past 1 year, you've been advocating for higher producer price for our cocoa farmers. And you know they are very happy that given the nod, you are going to be on the seat. Should you get the nod from this House, what reasonable and fair producer price must our cocoa farmers expect from the new administration? And when will this review take place? I would like to mention specifically the figure you mentioned, 6,000 per bag of cocoa. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, without a doubt, I'm a biggest advocate for cocoa farmers. I've done that in the last 8 years, and I've fought for the cocoa farmer, year in, year out. I will not change that. I will work to improve the lots of the cocoa farmer, recognizing their contribution to the economy, recognizing that the cocoa sector has been the mainstay of Ghana's economy for years. My concern, and I've always raised these concerns, has to do with the fact that the sector is collapsing and dwindling at a very fast rate, in fact, at an exponential rate. I think we need to do something, including the farm gate price and revamping the sector itself. I've said that the ministry, the Ghana Cocoa Board is currently under the Ministry of Agriculture. It is not under the Ministry of Finance, unless there's a policy change. But let me speak to what is before us now. It is not under the Ministry of Finance. So I do not have the sole power, prerogative, to announce cocoa price today. But obviously, as a minister, I'll be the champion for cocoa farmers, and I'll make sure that they get a fair price. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Yes, this will be a follow-up because I remember vividly on the floor of Parliament, the minister indicated that he is going to advocate for 6,000 a bag for cocoa farmers. And I'm surprised that you are now saying that it doesn't lie within your sole prerogative to do that. You were emphatic to do that. So should we demand that from you, that farmers are listening?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I don't think this is one of the sins that I enumerated, but I said I will advocate, and I've said that I will not change my position. I can certainly change.
Thank you very much. Another question, please.
Right. Thank you very much. Honorable Member, with the growing population of young people entering the workforce each year, what is your plan to address youth unemployment? And may I continue by asking if you could outline any specific programs to support entrepreneurship, skills training, or expansion of industries that have high job creation potential? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any program to support entrepreneurship
Chairman,
and innovation?
As a government, our job creation measures have been announced as part of our manifesto. As a minister, my responsibility is to mobilize the needed resources. In consultation with Cabinet, I will have to allocate them effectively to the sectors that will create employment and for them to be able to create jobs. When we talk about jobs, Mr. Chairman, and what you said, we've announced our 24-hour economy, and I strongly believe that Ghana has the huge potential of increasing our GDP with the same resources and the same human resource. That in itself will create enough jobs that will be able to cater for our teeming youth. But in the meantime, what you said about skill training and all, His Excellency the President, President Mahama, and the manifesto of the NDC has not minced words on this. We are going to set up a structure to train skills, give them access to the required training, and give them the tools for them to be able to learn the trade. I'll fund it as a minister, if approved, or when approved, in such a way that the skills that we lack as a country, we can train them locally and give them employment. Today, most of us, anytime you want to get good artisans, you go to our neighboring countries and bring them in. But we have the youth here. Why don't we give them the training? I think we need to revisit that. And I'll work with the sector ministers and be able to allocate the needed resources to them. And as I've said, that is my role as a minister responsible for finance. So we'll locate the revenue, the resources to them for them to be able to. Then I will mobilize the resources and be able to allocate them effectively and efficiently.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any further questions?
Yes, I'm very much interested in the answer to my last question. But I'm looking at the development of women. And I'm highly interested in your manifesto promise to set up a women development bank. And then free tertiary education. And I know all these things are going to be of a prime benefit for our ladies or our women in the country. With a proposed reduction in taxes, is fiscal consolidation a priority for the government in the near term, taking into account government's manifesto? Thank you.
Honorable nominee.
Thank you. Chairman, fiscal consolidation is not only a priority, but we will front load it. We will front load it carefully. At the same time, we'll signal to the investor community strongly that fiscal consolidation is not only a priority, but we'll front load it in a way, at the same time, not ignoring the impact on growth and protecting the vulnerable. So that, I can assure you, it is a priority. We have an option to rationalize some of these expenditures. And so it's a matter of switching and rationalizing. So it doesn't mean the flagship we've announced as part of our manifesto does not mean we are going to increase expenditure. That is not what it means. It's a priority of government, and we'll do just that.
Thank you for your answer. Any more questions?
Yes, I will have my last contribution.
Question or contribution?
Question, a follow-up question to the statement made or the question put in by Dr. Boakum. Honorable, you agree that data for end of year usually is validated on the first quarter of the ensuing year. So all data presented during the budget reading in November are provisional. How then do you say that data presented in 2017 and 2018, knowing that they are provisional, you term it as inaccurate? Thank you.
Thank you very much. What did you say? Those data is provisional, though,
Mr.
but
Chairman,
inaccurate.
that is exactly my point. The Honorable Gideon Boakon made reference to a particular data point and said that I was inaccurate. I had said this in 2019, and I said it at the time that the government had published accurate data. I said it at the time that the IMF, at the time, and remember, Ghana was in an IMF program, had gone to their board to present to their board end-year final numbers. Mr. Chairman, I did not lie. I said what I believe was the fact. In fact, subsequent data from the Ministry of Finance has confirmed that I was overly generous, and then the fiscal data was even below what I had announced. I had announced 7.8, and that they had revised it downwards to 6.3. Chairman, I did not cook these numbers. This was given to me by the Ministry of Finance this morning. And so this is what I mean. Data obviously is maybe preliminary until finally determined at the end of the year. And that's why I've been careful not to announce any end-year numbers. But that is what it is. And you know, in Parliament, you have to debate. You have to debate certain data, and you debate that appropriately.
Thank you very much. The question well answered. Any more questions? We'll now...
Just to wish the honorable member, my favorite friend, very well.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Gideon Buako, you are not even a member of the committee. So why are you raising your hand? It appears I'm overindulging you. No. Honorable Boa, your turn.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Chairman,
thank you very much.
Chairman, with respect.
Chairman, let me say that
Chairman,
you have...
With the greatest respect.
Chairman.
No, don't.
Let me...
Chairman, I need to come in on this.
But the chairman has recognized me unless he changes his mind.
Honorable Minority Leader, I recognize Honorable Boa.
Chairman, I'm in for a point of order. Chairman, point of order. Chairman, let's deal with this before.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman, let's deal with this.
Honorable Afenyomarkin,
Chairman, let's deal with this.
Respect the chair.
Let's deal with this before we.
Respect the chair.
Chairman, let's deal with this.
Please respect the chair.
I have recognized
Chairman, and I have noted
Thereafter,
that.
I can give you the floor.
Chairman.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Chairman.
Honorable Minority Leader, I have recognized Honorable Amaboa, the Deputy Majority Leader. I will give you the floor thereafter.
Chairman, with the greatest respect.
Chairman, let me go ahead.
Chairman, with the greatest respect.
Honorable Kesel,
Chairman, with the greatest respect to
congratulations.
You. Please, let's deal with this
Very, very proud
so
of
that after that
we entered
you consistently raise your voice
2009
on my colleagues. Mr. Chairman, you consistently raise your voice on my colleagues. The way you address them, the way you address my colleagues,
respect the chair.
Does not go in accord with what we all have agreed on to extend to each other that utmost respect. This is my fourth time of humbly pleading with you and craving your indulgence. I understand that you may have a high-pitched voice. However, I will plead with you. The way you came across as shouting on him, it happened in Honorable Abina Osaya Sari. You did it to Honorable Samia Wuku, and it's happening. I'm only pleading with you that in all humility, please, perhaps you did not intend that. And I'm here. If you feel that any of my colleagues is doing something or there's something that is not acceptable, we can work together. But the way
very well,
you did it, I'm pleading with you.
Point well made.
Please, Chair.
But, Honorable Leader, with all due respect, I indulge non-members of the committee to ask a question contrary to the practice and the procedure of this particular committee. Therefore, I do not expect any non-member, after exhausting that right, to be craving to ask more questions. I think we should conduct the business in a very orderly manner. Honorable Amaboa, your turn.
Chairman, let me say that the only reason why I yielded to Honorable Afenyomarkin is not because he's macho than anybody here, but because I respect this parliament and I respect the chair.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, proceed to ask your question.
I respect the chair.
Proceed to ask
Chairman,
your question.
I'm going to ask my question. Let me put it on record that, Chairman, you've been very kind to the minority today. And I've been here for a long time. And, Chairman, this extension of courtesies never happened when we were in the minority. Under the former chairman of the appointment committee, Honorable Ose Owusu. It never happened. And we have to make it clear that you are the only chairman that can allow anybody to speak. Honorable Afenyomak is the ranking member, but you have to give him the right to speak. Anyway, congratulations, Honorable Ato Forson. I entered Parliament with you in 2009. I know that we were about 42 on our side, and then the other side also had a number. We were all together about 92. Today, after 16 years, well, we are only 4 left. That speaks volumes about the attrition of Parliament. But I am very, very, very proud of you. So if I say I know you very well, I know you very well. You are a man of complete integrity, and you speak with data and facts. And I am very, very confident that that's exactly what you do. I'm very proud of your performance today, and I think you've calmed the nerves of the people of Ghana and given them the assurance that you are going to really lead, quite frankly, the finance ministry to success. So, my respected leader, I must also congratulate you on behalf of our colleague. You, as minority leader, will be remembered as the leader that in the last 2 years led the minority from 137 to 188 seats. Congratulations. So I'll go straight to my question. Ghana's economy, Honorable, is grappling with serious challenges. I think you've talked a lot about them. There to GDP issues, inflation, and high unemployment. And so my question is, as the Minister of Finance, what will be your top priorities to address these challenges?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, let me also thank His Excellency the President for the honor done me, and my party, the NDC, again, for giving me such an opportunity to serve Ghana in such a high position, in a position of trust. I come to this position very well prepared. I have 16 years experience in public service after some years in the private sector. The Chairman, in politics, you are aware that I've served, one as a Deputy Minister of Finance, and on the side when my party went. And I urge my colleagues also to do the same. I will do whatever it takes to move this economy from the crisis that we are in today to where we have to be. My priority as a minister will be low prices, stable city, and jobs. Low prices in the sense that today inflation is 28.3, food inflation is 27.8, and we know the inflation we see today is anchored, is largely driven with food inflation. What do we do? As minister, I will allocate resources in consultation with cabinet to government policy of agriculture for economic transformation to make food cheaper, and we'll work with the minister responsible for agric to make food cheaper. That in itself will help make food available and protect food security. From the price side, you can't talk about price without inflation. I mean, inflation needs to be tamed. It has been stubborn. I've said it earlier. It It has, in the last 8 months, you can see that we are still seeing some uptick, even though not too steep. But it has been 23.8. Today, that's the inflation rate. What do we do together to reduce this inflation? Yes, I've said it here and I want to say it again. We will work with the Bank of Ghana to reduce inflation to 8% plus or minus 2 in the shortest possible time. And how do we do this? From the fiscal side, we will front load fiscal consolidation in the shortest possible time so that we can get inflation down. And in doing so, we'll see prices stabilizing. The city needs to be anchored and has to be anchored from the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. You can't leave the Bank of Ghana alone to anchor the city. The fiscal authorities has a role to play. I'll work with them. I will work and coordinate effectively with the central bank, the monetary authorities, so that together we can anchor the currency. Monetary financing must be eliminated. We'll work to eliminate it. I'm on record to have spoken against monetary financing. My position has not changed. It's economist, and it still remains economist. And I will do exactly what it is to make sure we anchor the currency. On jobs, I've said it all. I've said it here that my responsibility as a minister responsible for finance is to raise the required revenue and to allocate it in consultation with cabinet to sectors that will create the jobs. And so we will do just that. And I want to repeat that. These are my priorities as a minister, and we'll work to achieve that in the shortest possible time. I want to be remembered as the one who helped to reduce prices and stabilize the currency and create jobs. That is what I ask God to help me to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. Shama, can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. So you talked a lot about the cost of living crisis, food inflation. Obviously, you can only do this with other sectors, other ministries, to address these, what we call the inefficiencies in the agriculture value chain. Can you outline some of the strategies that you do, working with other structures to address these inefficiencies in the agriculture value chain?
Honorable nominee, your answer, please.
Mr. Chairman, my passion is agric and agribusiness. And that's why I'm sure you've seen questions coming from Coco, left, right, and center. Why is it that food inflation is 27.8? I think it speaks volume. It speaks volume. And what are the staples? Ghana staples. Why are we not taking hard decision to invest in the agriculture sector? I think the time has come for us to pay attention to agriculture sector. I will wait for the nomination of the minister responsible for agriculture and his subsequent approval. I hope to work with the minister concerned, and we will work together to implement the government policy to make food cheaper. We have to mechanize agriculture. We have to improve and enhance productivity, and we have to modernize the agri sector and make it encouraging for young people to enter the sector. And in the process, you cannot ignore agribusiness. As I've said, that's my passion, and I intend to work with the minister responsible for agriculture to ensure food security and cheaper foods.
Honorable Minister, I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. I may allow questions from the ranking member, Honorable Deputy Minority Leader, Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Martins. Honorable Deputy Minority Leader. Yes, Deputy Minority Leader. Honorable Deputy Ranking and Minority. Ranking Member and Minority Leader.
you will not hurt the vulnerable. And if I quote you further, you also said that I am from a rural constituency. Therefore, I would champion policies that would benefit the poor. Currently, we have some social intervention programs rolling. One, free SHS, boarding, free, tuition, free, feeding. Would you sustain the free SHS program? The quality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, nominee, your answer to the question, whether you will sustain and improve upon the free senior high school program.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, myself and the minority leader has a history. We plan to enter this chamber together. Unfortunately, in his first attempt, he couldn't make it, and I made it. Mr. Chairman, he lost that primaries. And I won. And my party's position on free senior high school has been well articulated by His Excellency the President. We do not intend to cancel the free SHS. In fact, President Mahama has said that the free SHS has come to stay. I don't think you need any further assurance. The President of the Republic of Ghana has made this statement. Who am I? As a minister that he has appointed. So you have the assurance from the highest level of government to preserve the policy. I don't think I have what it takes to give you additional assurance. It's done. And he will be coming to this house as part of his State of the Nation address. I'm sure he will re-echo that position. I'm only a servant. My responsibility, if approved, will be to allocate resources to his priorities or to the priorities of the government. And I'll do that. So, my brother and my friend, be assured that free SHS has come to stay. And if there's anything, we'll come to this house for us to work together. But the President has said it. The budget will be presented to this house for us to peruse, consider it, and approve it. So let's not jump the gun, but I'm sure you are very sure, you are very much aware of what His Excellency, his pronouncement in the last few years.
Thank you very much. Any further questions?
Chairman, I would like to know from our leader, as the holder of the purse, whether the school feeding program will be sustained.
Thank you very much. School feeding program.
Mr. Chairman, I said earlier that I come from a rural constituency. and I know the impact of school feeding program. My concern is that the amount you give today per child as the cost you pay to the caterer is not enough to pay to feed the child well. In fact, it is not enough even to buy egg. That's what it is. It's not enough to buy egg. And so we will not only sustain it, but we'll make it better. We will make it better. Because as I've said, our policies will be designed in such a way that those strong will preserve growth and protect the vulnerable. And the vulnerable is what we are talking about. Remember, the school feeding is not in Achimota. It's not in Achimota school. It's somewhere in the village. And for them, this 1 square meal or twice is enough.
Right. So, Chairman, just for clarity and for the records, the caterers out there listening to you should take it that the current amount being paid to them is going to increase once you take over. With that assurance, what percentage should they expect? 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%? Because you say that the amount being paid is woefully inadequate. You didn't just say inadequate, you say woefully inadequate. So please let the caterers know, as the holder of the purse, the percentage you are going to increase their costs.
Mr. Chairman,
thank you very much. But
Chairman,
before you provide your answer,
the minority leader is putting words in my mouth.
yes, but before you provide your answer, can you state how much is it now? Well,
Mr. Chairman, I never said we are going to increase. I never used that word. I said that we will sustain it and improve on it, and made reference to the amount we pay and said it's not enough, because I've heard the caterers complain. So, Chairman, this is a house of records. Whatever we say here goes into the Hansard. I never said that. And so, Mr. Chairman,
thank you very much.
You don't just increase. You need to engage the sector. And so it will be difficult for me to sit here and just announce. I don't work like that, arbitrary. What is the basis of just announcing 20%? I don't work like that. I'm a careful person. So I cannot announce things that I don't know.
Chairman, the honorable nominee said that he's aware that the caterers have been complaining. That is a fact that is coming from him. 2, he says that they are not being paid enough, considering even the cost of an egg. He referred to that. And he's going to improve upon it. Now, what is the definition of improvement? This is a matter of cost. If you say the amount is not enough, even the cost of an egg, and looking at how much they are being paid. So obviously, you are suggesting to them that you are going to increase the amount they are being paid. And if you cannot give us a percentage, that's fine. I won't push. But I want you to be on record that upon assumption of office, the caterers should expect an increase in the amount being paid as compared to the current payment they are receiving. Just for the record.
Honourable Member, I think from your answer, the indication is clear that the amount is woefully inadequate and it will be improved. He attests to the fact that sitting there, you will not be able to indicate the percentage improvement. So the answer is already per the record.
Mr. Chairman, just to also add that we have to first pay the caterers, because I know not long ago, last week, they were picketing and demanding their payment. And so the first attention is to make sure you pay them, the caterers because some of them had to borrow before they engage in such a business. So let's pay them first and settle with them. I don't know the quantum of arrears. We need to know the arrears, the amount of money the government of Ghana owes these caterers. We ascertain it, pay them, make them happy, and then we'll move on.
Mr. Chair, as for this, I know it as a fact. So I will give a voluntary answer. Honorable leader and my respected colleague, government paid all caterers, and I want you to quote me. The last term, it's only this term that is, which has just begun, that government does not owe, that perhaps government owes, because the term would have to end. But I want you to know that I am aware that government paid all outstandings to caterers. The MPP government, at the time of leaving office, had paid every single caterer. Every single caterer was paid. There is no outstanding. And that it is this current term which has just begun, that upon completion, they will send their invoices for validation. So just for the records, and I pray that with assurance that there's going to be improvement in the amount being paid. You are saying that you won't use the word increase, but you will use the word improvement. Well, it means the same. So they expect that this current term, God willing, as you take over as a fresh Ato, they are going to enjoy an improved payment. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, having put that on record, let me go back to the issue of cocoa price per bag. In an earlier response to questions that came from the floor, my respected colleague indicated that, well, the cocoa sector is under the Ministry of Agri, and that if there is any policy realignment, he will look at it. He also indicated that he's a key advocate for cocoa farmers. He did also indicate that he would advocate for the cocoa farmer. Now, the issue is beyond advocacy. You are now the man in charge of the press, and you know the pressure on cocoa farmers. The 6,000 Ghana cedi per bag that you committed, would it be your benchmark in your advocacy and eventual decision for the cocoa farmer? Because they are listening.
Thank you, Honorable Minority Leader. You may ask another question.
Mr. Chairman, cocoa money does not come to the the consolidated fund. Cocoa money is outside the consolidated fund. It stays with the Ghana Cocoa Board. Ghana Cocoa Board uses this money part to buy cocoa, part to buy fertilizers and other inputs. I don't know what Cocoa Board is leaving behind. I don't know the extent of arrests they are leaving behind. I don't know the extent of debt that the Ghana Cocoa Board is leaving behind. I will not do this committee any good if I sit here and announce cocoa price. But as I've said, I remain a key advocate for the cocoa farmer. I will do so with the best of intention for the cocoa farmer. I recognize their sacrifices. I've spoke for them in the last 8 years, and I will continue to speak for the cocoa farmer. That I can assure you. But let's get to the cocoa board first and see what they have to do. I still maintain that the price they are paying the cocoa farmer is inadequate. I maintain that it's inadequate.
Thank you.
And there is more room for improvement.
Thank you. Further question?
Chairman, is a nominee conceding that the 6,000 per bag he quoted on the floor of the House was a mere political statement?
Mr. Chairman, the 6,000 Ghana cedi per bag should have been paid in the last crop year. So, Chairman, I say this because Cocoa Board is gradually turning themselves into a procurement agent just to procure inputs and denying the cocoa farmer. So they could have adjusted their formula to benefit the cocoa farmer. Very soon, the minister responsible for agric will be in place. I commit to work with him to give the cocoa farmer a fair price. And I believe the cocoa farmer deserves a fair price. And I know His Excellency the former president quoted me previously that I had said the cocoa farmer deserves 6,100. I'm not running away from that fact. I said it on the floor, and I backed it with the world market price in the city at the time, and still maintain that the cocoa farmer deserves 6,100. I've not run away from that position.
Thank you. You've been consistent in your answer on this. Any further question?
Rightly so, sir. Chairman, the nominee is being vetted as Minister of Finance. I want to ask I want to ask him whether economic planning will be part of his responsibilities.
Thank you very much. Though the instrument is very clear, you may proceed to answer the question.
Mr. Chairman, the instrument said Ministry of Finance. We are aware that the National Development Planning Commission deals with economic planning, but they interface with the Ministry of Finance. Fiscal policy in itself includes economic planning. And so there's an interface and coordination between the Ministry of Finance and the National Development Planning Commission. We will accordingly do so.
Very much. More questions?
Chairman, the instrument titled Executive Instrument EI1, Civil Service Instrument 2025, dated the 9th of January 2025, state the following: Ministries of the Civil Service. The following ministries in the civil service are hereby established. A, Ministry of Finance. If you go to the unreferenced letter from the Office of the President, signed by Callistius Mahama, PhD. No, he put Callistius Mahama, PhD. My colleagues like to heckle me. When I give them a small dose, then they'll be crying. Anyway, signed by Callistius Mahama, PhD, Secretary to the President. Which letter? The unreferenced letter, dated the 9th of January 2025, states as follows: in accordance with Article 78(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, 1992, I hereby, on behalf of His Excellency John Mahama, submit for consideration and approval of Parliament the following nominees for ministerial appointment. 1. Dr. Ato Forson, MP, Minister Designate, Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. I'm staying a bit longer on this because the instrument is dated 9th. The letter, communication to us, is also dated 9th. Which is which?
Honorable nominee, before you come in, leader, you know that the EI will take precedence over the letter.
Chairman, does that mean that we should put the nominees' vetting on hold and expect the presidency to communicate the correct designation to us, because what you are saying, which I agree, that the instrument which comes under constitutional provision, Article 11, if we go to Article 11, for the avoidance of doubt, may we go to Article 11 of the Constitution, the hierarchy of laws. Give me your Constitution. No, but there are instruments. No, they don't need to be. 11.7. Any other order or regulation made by a person or authority under the power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall be, Mr. Chair, I agree therefore that the instrument takes precedence over the letter. If that is so, I believe that the right thing to do will then be that we receive another communication from the presidency stating the correct office you are going to hold, because that contradiction can only be cured by a letter. In any event, the instrument is not formally before the House. You see, we are concerned because we thought the NDC, having had an experience in government before, was fully prepared for this term. So with 8 quality men and women in charge of governance, we were expecting this to have been done. But I will not hold back your vetting. I am bringing this to attention of Chair to ferry these concerns to the presidency so that we get a new letter. And I pray that that letter comes before we take the report on the floor. That said, let me move to my next question.
Honorable Leader, I pleaded with you that let's concentrate on the substance, but not the form. Before you proceed, I recognize the Chief Whip.
Chairman, I sympathize with the minority leader. He raised this point earlier, and you rightly said, our committee had a pre-sitting meeting. All these issues were taken into consideration, and we came to a conclusion that we will do the vetting today. And I mean, we all commended them for this kindness. So going to bring back this thing and suggesting that somebody should have known something, I think these were the issues we discussed. Otherwise, what is the point of having pre-sitting meetings and then to decide on the path to take? And then in the public, we are making it look as if these issues were not addressed. So I'm pleading with you. You have your right as the leader of the opposition to bring forth your point. But you are taking us back a bit, and unfortunately, the majority of the people watching us did not benefit from the pre-meeting arrangement. So I'm pleading with you once again. I just want to remind you once again, the shortest vetting we've had in this parliament since I entered was the vetting of Honorable Che Mensah Bonsu, leader of the majority, leader of the House. The shortest. The opposite happening today is the longest. Just that on record again. And you were the one who actually brought this up and reminded us. And you are participating in the longest ever vetting. As for Parliament and Ghana, it will continue to exist. We just hope one day nobody will insist that vetting of another leader should be the shortest.
Mr. Chairman, the shortest vetting we've ever had was with Honorable Alban Sumana Kinford Bagbin. Let the records be perused. It's not Che Mensah Bonsu, so you check it. That said, I do not want to believe that Honorable Member Govern Abuja is trying to frustrate the process here. Fortunately, Honorable Roxanne Eche Defiamapo is right here with us. We have had him on record, including Honorable Governors Abuja, interrogating phrases used, sentences used, grammar, and paragraphs contained in a letter from Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo to the House. So please, if I'm just clarifying, just for the record, and don't, unduly come in. I beg you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Let's make progress.
So
the point well noted. So proceed.
All right. Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, we assume without any doubt that the president has serious confidence in you, your capacity to help finance his flagship projects, and obviously values your insight and contributions in crafting policy. May you share with us if there is any planning and modeling to guide the development of the 24-hour economy policy.
Mr. Chairman, His Excellency the President has appointed the Honorable Guzitando as the Special Advisor for 24 Hours Economy. His office, prior to his nomination, have worked extensively on a policy, a 24-hour economic policy. In the coming days, we will make those policies public, working with the Ministry of Finance. When approved, we'll work with them to implement the 24-hour economy. But as I've said earlier, I strongly believe that we can increase our GDP or double our GDP with the same capital and the same resources, with the same labor. I think it is up to us to work closely with the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on 24-hour economy and this House, so that together we can twerk it. Look, let me say that if Ghana succeeds, we all succeed. And so we'll have to work together. I don't have the full details of the work they've done. And as I said, the work didn't just start. They've been working in the last 2 years to develop a program towards this 24-hour economy agenda. No wonder the Honorable Guzitando was nominated to lead it, because he has been leading it since opposition. Thank you.
So, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Chairman, so just for the ordinary Ghanaian, what is a 24-hour economy? Just for the ordinary Ghanaian to understand.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
He needs an explanation of 24-hour economy from you.
Mr. Chairman, simple put, a 24-hour economy is an economy where the rare sectors of the economy doesn't sleep. The rare sectors of the economy doesn't sleep. For example, we have a mining sector, don't we? We want to see where the mining sector does not sleep, as against a situation where the mining sector, for example, does 12 hours and go to bed. The benefits of light electricity, they should be able to work 24 hours. And many other sectors. You have the hydrocarbon sector. You have the entire agriculture value chain. It's not just going to farm, but after farm, the produce must go to a warehouse. And you have to, obviously, process it into agribusiness. And so we don't want the value chain to go to sleep. We believe that if implemented properly, we'll be able to increase the workforce. And we've said one job, just like we have now, can end up employing 3. So 24-hour economy is a structure where we'll end up implementing a trade shift for the economy and going forward, bring out productivity.
Thank you very much. Are you okay with the explanation of 24-hour economy?
Chairman, stay out of this matter. Honorable nominee, are you suggesting, therefore, that the structure of our economy as it stands now has no such input as 24-hour economy already subsisting?
There's some semblance of 24
Please,
hour.
go ahead with your answer.
Mr. Chairman, I think if you talk about the red sector, no. No. You see, the red sector are the core sectors of the economy that drives inclusive growth, proper growth, and create jobs. You have health, where hospitals operate 24 hours. You have the police, some police stations, work 24 hours and all, some restaurants and all. But that's not what we are talking about. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking of the real sector, where jobs are created. For example, we have Takrady Port, my birthplace, where I grew up, secondary Takrady Port. And you have mines, where I used to work, the Awaso area. Going all the way to Yine. With a proper railway line, you can get the Yine mines to produce bauxite within the same 24 hours. As what has been produced, you can haul it to Takrady Port and ship them or process it. The whole process is what we are talking about, 24-hour economy. So it's the rail sector that we are talking about. Investment in the rail sector, deliberate government policy targeting the rail sector, where you can use the 24-hour economic policy to drive growth. That's what we are talking about, not chop bars. We are not talking of chop bars. We are not talking of pharmacy shop. That's not what we are talking about, rail sector growth.
So are you therefore saying that you've done some costing, and having done some costing, you have an approach in terms of this model? Because from your answer, you are suggesting that you are going to target certain sectors. And if you are targeting these sectors and you really want to fuel economic growth, it means that you need to inject some funding. So let us know what funding arrangement you have in place to back this policy.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to jump the gun. I said earlier that the
Capable of answering the question.
I said earlier that the Office of the Special Advisor to the President, responsible for 24-hour economy, is doing some work. I know they're almost done, and because the work started 2 years ago when we also were in opposition. Today he's in office. He will need to tweak it. And present same to Parliament. Obviously, what will be presented to Parliament will come from either the Ministry of Finance together with the Ministry of Trade. So let's wait for that. The President has appointed someone responsible for 24-hour economy. Let's wait for the person to provide us a proper blueprint, then we'll talk about it.
Thank you. Any further question, Leader?
Yes, please.
You have a long way to go.
Chairman, we have a 10 billion public infrastructure investment plan proposed by the NDC. At the same time, the NDC in government seeks to introduce the sinking fund and cap government borrowing. This is a manifesto promise. First, I want to know whether you pledge your support for this manifesto promise. And if so, walk us through the numbers and demonstrate how it fits into the IMF framework for 2025 to 2028.
Mr. Chairman, I subscribe to the tenets of our manifesto because I was part in formulating that manifesto. Mr. Chairman, yes, we promised to set up a sinking fund. It's necessary. It is required. If we had single fund today, I wouldn't be sitting here lamenting that there are debts that will fall due, yet we do not have buffers. We need to establish that sinking fund. We've done it in the past, and we'll do it again. I've said that it is only right for you to save during good times to take off bad times. So we'll save when it's good, and when it's bad, we'll have buffers to be able to deal with the challenges. There's the need for us to cap borrowing. We have to cap borrowing. You can't borrow into an unsustainable pit. We've seen it in the past. Can we continue the same way? Can we continue giving bondholders haircuts? No. You know the consequences of the haircuts that we went through. The banking sector today is limping, and we'll have to borrow to support the banking sector as a result of the haircuts that the country went through. And many others. Pensioners have to suffer. Individual bondholders have to lose their capital, some their medication and all. We need to cap the borrowing. We need to have a plan to cap those borrowings. And so we commit to that. Aside what you mentioned, the 10 billion big push policy, the economy must grow in spite of all of this. Ghana's economy must grow. 10 billion over 4 years gives you 2.5 billion. The outgoing government, the immediate past government, Agenda 111, has left behind 1.5 billion for us to complete Agenda 111. We know all of that. But I can assure you that in spite of the challenges, we have to carefully invest in the rare sector. And you know my biases already. Hydrocarbons, mining, infrastructure, agric and agribusiness, and SMEs. We need to finance the sectors, and the rare sector development is key. So 10 billion US dollars, we can fund it over the medium term, over a 4-year period. And I've said here, the quality of expenditure matters. You have a choice to take 58 million US dollars to build National Cathedral. In the same vein, you have a choice to use 4 times that amount to be able to construct a proper highway between Accra and Kumasi. What would that do for you? It will increase productivity. So it's a matter of the quality of expenditure. We will do it. And we have to do it to move this country forward.
Thank you very much.
Chairman.
Is that the end, or you have
Chairman,
more questions?
I learned something from Dr. Forson. I'm not an economist. Mine is law, but we are learning. He once said there's a difference between releases and payments. So government will release to controller, and then controller would have to effect the payment. So when the actual, you can talk about actual payment when you are in receipt of your payment. Ato, correct? Very well. So I would want to use that to clarify an earlier point that I made from the school feeding secretariat, that government released the entire 72 days owed the caterers to controller. And the actual payment received out of those release letters, the letter that goes to controller, payment received by the caterers was for 42 days. And that the 32 days outstanding is yet to be received by the caterers. So I just wanted that on record. And that becomes your first responsibility, to ensure that the controller complies with the releases. Are you ready to ensure that the controller complies with the releases?
Mr. Chairman, you are aware that...
Well, before coming to answer the question, I thought you said they have fully paid. But now that you are admitting that payment has not been paid and they are agitating...
Chairman, with respect...
I would ask the nominee to respond to your clarification.
No. Chairman, we are politicians and I understand languages when they are coded to mean something. I've been in this business with you, so wait. I've noted that since it got to my turn, all my questions, you find a way of repeating. We've been doing this. I was playing number 6 when I was on government side, so I understand the game you want to play. But wait. No. Chairman, I was doing...
Which number am I playing?
I don't know, but it's for you to determine the number you are playing. But let's get back. We all learn. And when you're learning, you don't have to be worried about mistakes. So you learn. I'm saying that government released all outstandings. And through the warrant that government communicated to the controller, it was for the full amount owed the caterers, the 72 days. So government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, at the time of leaving office, released the entire outstanding to be paid. Now, the records have it that as at 31st of December 2024, the controller had only paid 42 days out of what he was directed to pay, and that we have some days outstanding in releases yet to be paid. Do we have your commitment to ensure that the controller complies with this?
Honorable nominee, your comment.
Mr. Chairman, I keep guiding the committee that let's be careful not to speculate because we don't have the full picture yet. You may think it's 30-something days left, but you will end up seeing worse. So I urge that let's take our time, get to the ministry, do a proper assessment as to the arrest due, and have a plan to repay. Mr. Chairman, today, the government pays 1 cedi 50 pesos for a child to be fed. 1 cedi 50 pesos. Okay? And I've said that it is not enough even to buy egg. I've also said that there are some arrests we need to pay. Let's get to the ministry. And when we get there, we'll work to make sure these caterers are paid first. And then we can look into the future, what we can do for the school feeding.
Thank you very much, Leader.
Chairman, now back to the issue of your 10 billion Public Infrastructure Investment Fund. I want to know from you, Honorable Nominee, how much of the 10 billion shall be raised in each year, and how will that fit under the debt ceiling manifesto, the debt ceiling in your manifesto? Because you are proposing a certain debt ceiling. You are also talking about raising this 10 billion. I want to know how you intend to go about it and how much of same each year. Thank you.
Nominee.
Mr. Chairman, the policy will be submitted to Parliament for approval. The big push policy will be submitted to Parliament for approval.
Thank you very much.
In it, we'll give you the breakdown, how it's done, how we are going to raise money, and when we are going to start, and how much goes into each year. So the details will be provided to this House.
Thanks. Any further question?
Chairman, the nominee interventions is the initiative of the government. And because you hold the purse, it would squarely come to you. One, the free university tuition for first year. Second, the extra costs to be incurred and the free SHS to cover private schools. So these are two main expenditure lines to look out for. So let me start with the first one. With the free university tuition for first years, I understand the university students are starting their semester 1. Now, are you going to implement it now? The free first year tuition for university students. Are you going to implement it this academic year, which has just begun? And would you factor it in your budget, which you are going to present? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, proceed with the answer.
Mr. Chairman, first, I'm not yet the Minister of Finance. Second, Mr. Chairman, I have to be at the ministry to assess the situation and introduce government policies accordingly. My responsibility as Minister of Finance will include mobilizing domestic revenue to fund government projects or government flagships. I will do that, not alone, but working with Cabinet. I'm mindful of our manifesto promises, and I should be the one to be able to recommend same to government if we can afford it. And as long as it's in government manifesto and there are timelines to it, I commit to it. I commit to it, and we'll do just that. But let me get to the ministry first, and let's see what we can do.
Thank you.
So, Chair, Honorable Nominee, are you suggesting that you have not considered the costing of this policy, the free tuition for first year university students?
Chairman, that is very wrong. I've never said that. It doesn't matter the costing. It must fit into a framework. And I have to get into the ministry first. I can't pretend to use this podium to read the national budget. This is not a budget. Let me get there so that I can present the budget to you, and some of these policies will be appropriate.
Thank you very much.
Chairman, I would want a further clarity on this all-important policy. Your manifesto talks about tertiary. Tertiary is not only the universities, but post-secondary institutions that award diplomas, certificates, in my view, are tertiary institutions. So you have nursing training institutions, colleges of nursing. You have the colleges of education. Are they all going to be factored in the free first year tuition to avoid discrimination?
Mr. Chairman, I think I've made this point already. I'm not yet in a position to make policy pronouncement on behalf of the government. I'm only a designate, a nominee. And you need to approve me first. Give me the power to be able to make policies and announce to you policies. Mr. Chairman, you may ask the Honorable Minority Leader to file a question so that I can come and answer when I become the minister.
Thank you very much. You have to file a question.
Chairman,
after approval.
No worries at all. But you see, a distinction must be made. There are matters that you need to get to the ministry to enable you have it handy. And those are not the ones I'm asking you. These are policies. And being part of a political party leadership, I know what goes into manifesto pledges. We had hints many months, or if not a year or two ago, that you were leading the economic team of your party. We know. Therefore, you've always known about this policy. It didn't just get into your manifesto. What I want to know from you are facts within your domain, whether colleges of education, colleges of agriculture, colleges of nursing, and other institutions that are tertiary institutions are parts of this free first-year tuition. That is what I want to know from you, because you know what is tertiary when you were drafting the policy. That's what I want you to tell me, not something that you will get to know upon arriving at the ministry.
Leader, with all due respect, the word tertiary is unambiguous. You are just calling on the nominee to give you an interpretation of tertiary. I think we should give the word tertiary its ordinary meaning, and then we can proceed.
Chairman, thank you very much. I can understand where you are coming from. But you see, we are a political class, and we are dealing with a social intervention deliverables. Those watching us would want clarity, and that is all I seek to do, so that somebody at Legon would not assume that university is university and that he or she will benefit. But somebody at the nursing college in Winneba who is doing a diploma in nursing would think that because they did not explain it, he or she will not benefit. So I know you had the benefit of knowing what tertiary means at the time you were drafting this policy, when you said you would give first-year tertiary students free tuition. You pay for them. Government will pay. So parents would not need to pay at all. You know? So I just want the clarification.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's unambiguous in our manifesto what we said. I do not seek to reinterpret what is in the manifesto. And it's as clear as possible. In the next budget, if you have any doubt, we can clarify those in the next budget. Thank you.
Fair enough, Chairman, fair enough. So let me come to the next leg of this social intervention, the free SHS. So you have promised that you will extend it to the private secondary schools. You are going to be a major advisor to government. Have you planned, do you have a plan as to the number of students in the private secondary schools? And if so, have you looked at the cost?
Mr. Chairman, the number of students in the private school as at yesterday cannot be the same as today. It moves. So whatever target or whatever costing that was done was done with the data as at the time they did assessment. I was not part of the group that did assessment. Today, we are in office. You need to look at the data, the number of people concerned, and how much you are paying. Let's get to office. The president is only 2 weeks, it's less than 2 weeks old, it's 1 week old. Let's get to the office, and then we can start work. There's no minister at post as we speak. And so you need to help the president to constitute his cabinet as soon as possible so that they can advise him for him to come to Parliament to deliver his State of the Nation address. Thank you.
So the private secondary schools that you propose to extend free SHS to is going to include Ghana International School, Lincoln, Association, because all these are private schools, secondary schools. Are you going to include them?
Well, the nominee is capable of answering the question. Other than that, private school is private school.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware that Ghana International Lincoln and it takes WASI. They don't write WASI. I'm not aware. I'm not aware that Ghana International School goes through West Africa Examination Council. They do GCSEs and A-levels and others. I'm not aware that you can equate Lincoln with a school fees of $30,000 to Achimota School. I'm not aware of that. The chairman, let's get to work. And when we get there, we'll present to this House a comprehensive program. The chairman, the previous administration was unable to pass the free SHS bill. You are aware of that. And Mr. Chairman, we will regulate this free senior high school policy properly to make it sustainable, so that it becomes part of our nation's development. I think His Excellency the President has made this pronouncement, and so we'll do what we have to do. The Honorable Minority Leader knows me well, that I'm a man of my word. And I can give him that assurance that whatever it takes, we'll come to this House and seek your approval.
Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Is the nominee fully aware that in respect of the promises by his party in the health sector, the party engaged an independent body, which body gave it a minimum cost of 18 billion? Are you aware of this? And do you agree to that? The health sector promises that your party
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware. The only thing I'm aware of is during the transition, I was told that Agenda 111 would take $1.5 billion to complete. But I'm not aware of this 18 billion. I don't know.
Are you committed to completing the Agenda 111 with that amount? Are you committed to that?
Mr. Chairman, the immediate past government was in office for 8 years. They announced the Agenda 111 in 2020. We were told they were going to complete it within a year and two. The Chairman, this is 4 years. They have not been able to complete Agenda 111. We have huge debt awaiting the next government. What we know is that His Excellency the President has committed that he is going to complete all ongoing projects. I'm a servant of the President. I'll be his minister if approved. And so when you approve me as minister, I'll assess the situation. I'll find out what you are leaving behind and be able to advise the President appropriately. But at the moment, I'm not in a position to advise him because I do not have the full data of what is the true state of Ghanaian economy.
Thank you.
Chairman, I have the last two for my respected brother and colleague, and I'll call it a day. Leader, your government has indicated that its financing needs will be alleviated from second quarter in 2025 as debt service payment to bondholders resume. Considering that T-bills will not be sustainable to meet the financing needs, tell us what strategies you intend to pursue to meet the high financing needs without jeopardizing debt sustainability.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, financing is a function of the budget. If you throw out a huge deficit, you have to finance it. So you have to throw out the deficit first. We don't intend to throw out an unsustainable financing, where the gross financing needs is in a way that if you go to the market, you will not be able to finance and put further pressure on the market. So, as I've said, we'll front load the fiscal consolidation on expenditure base. So let's introduce the budget, and when we introduce the budget, we'll know the financing needs, and we'll make sure that we'll be able to finance our budget. But there are options. There are options. We'll work with our development partners. There's World Bank, there's IMF, there is EU and all. So if there's any financing need, aside the market, both domestic and external, we'll be able to tap into the financing, our financing request from the development partners. So these are options that we can do.
Now, as a follow-up on that, I'm quite curious. So how would you raise this 10 billion without borrowing? This 10 billion, you had indicated to me earlier that you will present your plan to Parliament, and in that we'll know as a House how much you intend to raise each year. Now, you are so sensitive to your debt servicing strategy. Now, how do you intend to still achieve this without borrowing?
Mr. Chairman, I've never said we are not going to borrow. I've said that financing needs are a function of the budget. And it depends on the fiscal deficit you throw out. If you throw out a fiscal deficit of 10% of GDP, you have to finance the 10%. Why are you financing the 10% of your GDP? Are you financing it from debt? And if it's debt, what kind of debt? Is it domestic, T-bills, or long-dated? Is it external or kind of? So I'm saying that your concern will be dealt with the kind of financing we throw out. If we throw out 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and the market can accommodate it, so be it. So let's look at the options available. But all of this will depend on your financing needs. So for us, fiscal discipline will be the anchor. And we'll be mindful of the market needs and what the market can accommodate.
Thank you.
Chairman.
I thought you said two questions.
No, there was a follow-up. Chairman,
so is that the last question?
The nominee has addressed us on some key issues, and I'm happy with his approach thus far. I would want to ask him, he's aware that a key development partner, the IMF, entered into some agreement with us. And in that agreement, they required of us to put in place certain measures. He is aware that the e-levy and the betting tax and other taxes he considers are nuisance taxes have been captured as part of our revenue sources in this agreement with the IMF. So government really has no unfettered discretion. How do you justify the repealing of these tax laws without hurting the very agreement that you have with the IMF? You think, in other words, you think that you can freely repeal these tax laws and without introducing a new revenue measure, the fund will be happy with you and will not see that your repealing of these tax laws amount to breaching an existing agreement with them? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the IMF did not ask the former government to introduce e-levy. The e-levy was introduced before the IMF program. And so the IMF did not ask you to introduce e-levy. The betting tax was also introduced by yourselves, not the IMF, not an IMF prescription. The IMF will give you a fiscal deficit to achieve. It is up to you how you achieve it, and we'll do just that.
Yeah,
but
Chairman,
let me say this.
Okay, sure.
But let me say this, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the NDC government recognizes that there is an IMF program. We are committed to implement the IMF program. we're also committed to achieve the objectives of the IMF program. We are not going to jettison the IMF program. We'll implement it. It is an agreement between the Republic of Ghana and the International Monetary Fund. Today, we are in government. We have a responsibility to implement it. I'm on record to have said that we will implement the IMF program. And so we'll implement the IMF program. We are not running away from that. And so whatever it takes, we will not run away from the implementation of the IMF program. And we'll implement it to the latter and achieve the objectives of the IMF program.
So, Chair, is the nominee therefore suggesting to us that repealing these tax laws, these taxes that he considers them nuisance, repealing them without introducing new taxes or other forms of taxes in their place will not amount to breaching the IMF agreement?
Mr. Chairman, you can rake in other form of revenue through compliance. You can use compliance measures to bring in additional revenue to replace these taxes you are removing.
Finally, leader, your government is proposing overhauling the existing foreign exchange regime. As finance minister, what is the alternative? Have you any comprehensive foreign exchange policy you will pursue? Because it's not just enough to say that you will depart from the existing foreign exchange regime. The country would like to know how you intend to come up with an alternative policy, which policy will help to address the currency depreciation and build more foreign exchange buffers. We would want to know from you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Bank of Ghana has the mandate to deal with our foreign exchange regime. I'm not being vetted as a governor of the Republic of Ghana or the Bank of Ghana. I'm being vetted as a minister responsible for finance. I don't want to make policies or policy proposals that will tie the monetary policy regime. I think we should leave that to the central bank and the governor or the next governor to be able to have the power to deal with the monetary policy, particularly the management of our foreign exchange. But I'm on record to have said that the Bank of Ghana alone cannot be left to anchor the currency. It doesn't mean we are going to micromanage the foreign exchange regime. It means we are going to coordinate with the Bank of Ghana. So we'll coordinate effectively with the central bank to be able to manage Ghana's foreign exchange regime. That I know we will do.
Chairman, just a follow-up. You see, leader, your manifesto did not say that this is a mandate of the central bank. You will come up with a lead policy, which policy have a far-reaching consequences on the economy. The central bank would only look at you as an arrowhead and implement in a direction that the government policy so directs or chooses. So I think that to run away from it may be a bit unfortunate. It cannot be said by you as a holder of the purse that this is a matter for the central bank. Please, at the time you crafted this and engraved same in your policy, you knew what you wanted to achieve. The people of Ghana do not want to get the impression that you did matricle, because you said it on good authority that this is what you are going to do. So I want to know from you, whether indeed, as the head of the Exchequer, you are committed to this, and not to say that it's a duty of the central bank.
Mr. Chairman, I was trying to refer you to the constitutional provision of the Bank of Ghana. And we all know that the Constitution mandates the central bank to manage the central, our foreign exchange. Mr. Chairman, our manifesto did not say the Minister of Finance would be the one to manage the foreign exchange regime. No. We announced our economic policies. And you know that it takes both monetary and fiscal to manage the economy. It's not only the Ministry of Finance that manages the economy. And so it's the two of us. And so, Mr. Chairman, I want to jealously guard the independence of the central bank when it comes to monetary policy formulation. Monetary policy formulation and the management of the foreign exchange. That is in their purview. Let's respect it. Allow the next governor or the governor to deal with it. Chairman, I so submit.
Thank you for your question. I am told. Oh, do you have a further question? Leader, you said 2 more.
Chairman.
And you've asked 3. You have a further question.
Chairman, since the nominee has referred us to the Constitution, and we also have the manifesto promise of his party, it is important we reconcile. If at all material times the nominee knew that the foreign exchange regime, the policy is squarely under Article 183 of the Constitution, and that is under the control of Bank of Ghana, then why did his party commit to this in a manifesto? Because the manifesto did not make that reference, and you introduce it as a government policy to be led by the finance minister. And you're on record to have chastised the former finance minister, Mr. Kenuforiata, when we had issues with our currency. The blame was on him as the finance minister. I remember the famous Ken Must Go. I remember. Oh, can I finish? Oh, can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? The duty, a certain British politician once said, the duty of His Majesty's opposition leader is to oppose. Rather, and we are opposing with all the energy in us, and we are being reasonable. But
let's take the last question.
Please, let's finish. But if the heckling is coming from the majority, then we have every cause to be concerned. Please, let's finish this.
Nobody is talking. You have the microphone.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you. So my question to you is this. When we had the depreciation of the cedi, your side in Parliament chastised the finance minister for not showing leadership in managing the cedi. To you, it wasn't about Bank of Ghana. And I'm saying that today, in your manifesto, you have re-echoed that same policy. And if you are now going to quote the Constitution to say that that is going to be the responsibility of central bank, then my question to you is that, did you mislead the Ghanaian people when you engraved that in your manifesto?
Mr. Chairman, That is inaccurate. Mr. Chairman, let me also refer you to the same Constitution, Article 184, 183, 1834. Mr. Chairman, it says the following shall apply to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana. He shall be appointed by the President, acting in consultation with the Council of State for a period of 4 years. Mr. Chairman, the Governor will have to be appointed by the President. The Governor will have to subscribe to the ideals and the vision of the President in foreign exchange, the foreign exchange management. The President has a social contract. He signed a social contract with the people of Ghana. His appointment or his appointee must reflect exactly that. And so, Mr. Chairman, we have not had the same Constitution talking about the mandate of the central bank says that the President must appoint the Governor. And so you have to appoint someone who subscribes to your ideals, someone who buys into your vision. And so he's going to appoint someone he believes will do what it takes. And so that will be done. That will be done.
Thank you very much.
You are going to, Chairman, he's introduced an important matter. There's a central bank governor. We have a governor of the central bank.
Who has mismanaged the bank? Yes. He's going home. 2 months. Central mismanaged by the mismanager of the bank, not the manager.
When is his tenure coming to an end?
Chairman, you should be telling us, but I know he has had his 2 terms, 2 maximum terms, and he has some months to go. So certainly within the next 4 years, the President will have the opportunity to appoint a governor.
I mean, after he has retired?
I am not appointing authority.
Pardon? No. Mr. Chairman, we need some protection here. The majority, exactly. Honorable nominee, you are telling the committee that the governor has some few months to go. I want to ask you that this new appointment you are referring to, would it be after his retirement?
Honorable members, the Constitution states clearly the tenure of office of the governor. So definitely what the nominee is saying is that within a period, it will come to an end and the President will have the opportunity. This issue as whether when exactly it will end is not a question for the nominee to be asked.
Chairman, I think your ranking member is done.
Yes.
So if you raise new issues, you may invite him again.
Yeah, so honourable members, it's now my turn to answer a question, to ask a question, but I have no question for the nominee. I will use the period to acknowledge the presence of some guests in our midst who are here to give moral support to the nominee. They are Nana Efua Esiwa II, Paramount Queen Mother, Ejumako, Ama Forson, sister to the nominee, Kwesi Forson, Kojo Forson, brothers to the nominee, Sechiwa Claudia, sister, Reverend Pa Kojo, brother, Mr. Afrifa, brother, Professor Ferdinand Ahiakpo, staff, James Ajenim Boatin, staff, and Professor Jonathan Annan, Ejumako Enyen SCM constituency chairman. May I have the privilege to say you are most welcome. Honourable members, let me use the opportunity to thank the nominee for attending upon the committee. Honourable Minister Designate, you are discharged, but you will surely hear from the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to say a word. Chairman, today you did not treat me like the majority leader of Ghana's parliament, but I recognize that this had to happen because I'm going to serve
Sensitive
in a
position.
very sensitive position. I recognize that. Thank you.
Yeah. Members, we'll have 30 minutes break to ourselves. We'll resume. Yes. Yes, 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Okay, let's make it. Energy.